I would like to welcome everyone to this conference call this evening. My name is Armin Morn, and you are on the Big Seminar Preview Series. Many of you know we've been doing this set of series of teleseminars to give you an idea of just to touch base on just some of the people that will be speaking at our next big seminar. This is our fifth big seminar that we've done so far. Each time it gets bigger and it gets better. The quality of our speakers are just tremendous. From day one, we had a great lineup of speakers, and we try to outdo ourselves each and every time. This is the premier learning event of the Internet marketing industry. We have literally taught more people about Internet marketing than any other seminar in the world. Regarding Internet marketing, and we have people literally coming from all over the world to be at our seminar. We have people from Japan, from Australia, from England, obviously from the Canada, U.S., Mexico, all coming into Atlanta, Georgia, specifically to learn about how they can take their business to the next level. And what we do is we provide you with an environment that will allow you to take advantage of accelerated learning techniques that will take you and your business to that next step that you need to be. If you're satisfied with where your business is right now, then this call may not be for you. In fact, this seminar probably isn't for you. But if you're not satisfied with the income that you're making and the time that you're putting into your business and not seeing it leveraging itself out to be enough, then you need to listen to us for the next 60 minutes to just learn what one of our speakers can show you how to do in Atlanta, Georgia on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. Now, one of the things I have to tell you is that we had messed up an email earlier in the week. We have a promotion. The page is still up for you to take advantage of, and there's two things I want to remind you of right now. I know many of you on this call right now are already coming to the seminar because I heard the people as they were being introduced as far as who they were, and I know already that you're already coming to the seminar, but there's many of you that haven't made that decision yet. We're a little bit over a month away from the seminar itself. Plenty of time to still make that decision, but we gave you two incentives that will be taking off the website in just a few short hours. The first incentive is our two-payment program. We allow you to break the cost of our seminar down into two payments, one now and one 30 days from now. The second thing is that we also have a very special bonus for you that's never been done anywhere before, and that is my good friend Stu McLaren is actually holding an idea seminar that myself, actually Mr. Childers, who's actually on this call, will be there, Alex Mondosian, Jim Edwards, Matt Basic, and obviously Stu McLaren will be there. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to generate ideas for your business that can literally take your business through the roof. And that's going to all happen as a separate seminar in just about 2 weeks away in Nashville, Tennessee. That's $497 seminar. I've made arrangements with Stu for everyone that is coming to the big seminar in Atlanta to get a ticket to that event absolutely free. All you have to do is register your seat tonight, and you can take advantage of our two-payment program and get the details on how to get your free seat to Stu McLaren's seminar as well, too. So you get two seminars for the price of one. It's a tremendous value, tremendous event. If you go to bigseminar.com/indexatlanta.html, you'll get all the details, and also you'll be able to register your seat on there right now before the end of this call. But right now what I want to do is I want to introduce you to a friend of mine that he's really just taught me a tremendous amount of information as far as how to make more money in my business. Now, I have to tell you this. This particular person I'm going to introduce you to is not an Internet expert, so to say, even though what he's going to tell you will increase your Internet business exponentially. And just let me give you a little short story as far as what happened to me. I went to his training a little over a year ago. Actually, I believe it was about almost a year and a half ago, actually. And I went to this training. It was the most expensive training that I've ever been to. I have to tell you that up front, because what that training did for me over the course of this last 18 months or so has increased my business by over 7 figures. Now, I didn't say 6 figures because that would have been impressive, but I increased my business by 7 figures. That means over $1 million for those of you that couldn't figure that part out. But what he's going to talk to you about tonight and what we're going to get out of him is why this is important to you and why this is important to your business, no matter if you're online, offline, or anywhere in between. So the person I'm talking about is a person by the name of John Childers. So, Mr. Childers, I'd like to welcome you to the call this evening.
Well, thank you very much, Armin. It is a great pleasure to be here.
Now, John, you talk about what you call the most profitable skill in the world. Could you explain to everyone what that is and why it's the most profitable skill?
Well, yeah, I'd be glad to. The most profitable skill in the world is the ability to get in front of an audience and sell them something. Now, there's a skill to that because no one likes to be sold, but everyone wants to learn. And what I teach people, if you would get up in front of an audience and teach them something that they're so excited about it that they want more, then they will want to buy your home study course or something of that nature. But now, the public speaking, public selling from the front of the room is a skill that if you learn that, you can make, and like in your case, 7 figures, and that's not unusual in our business, as you know, Armin. And because the people that are going to be coming to your seminar, I think that they ought to come for 2 reasons. Number one, they should be coming to learn how to grow their business on the internet. But second, and this was so profitable to me and everyone that I've ever shared this with, is when you go to a training and you're learning how to grow your business, why not add the great ideas that you learned and how you use them to your presentation and teach people how you did it in your business? And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to get up and teach people what you've done, you can make a small fortune in addition to what you'll be making on the internet.
Now, let me just make sure everyone understands this. So what you're saying is for everyone is that once whatever you've accomplished, other people will want to know what you did.
Absolutely.
And there's always going to be a market for that. But now, one of the things that I just want to clarify, and I just want to expound upon with you for a little bit, and that is about public speaking, because public speaking, as many people know, it's the biggest fear that anyone ever has, and it's literally one of the biggest fears in the world as far as what people feel internally about speaking in front of an audience, and they have all kinds of phobias about it and things. But we're not talking just about speaking in general. We're talking specifically one aspect of speaking, and that is actually selling people your products and services from the stage and on a mass audience.
Well, that's true, and I teach people how to become wealthy. I've got 20 years' experience doing that, and during the process of teaching people how to become wealthy, there are certain principles that you adhere to, and obviously you got to learn them first. And I want to share a couple of them with you. One is you need to get into something in which you can work one time and get paid over and over again. And, Armin, when I met you, I was so impressed that, hey, this is a guy that's following the same principles that I follow in my business. Because, you develop your software, you develop your ideas, you develop your trainings. You did it one time, and now you've got something that you can sell and get paid over and over again, especially with the internet.
Sure.
Now, the second principle is that if you are going to make a sales presentation, you need to stop selling one person to one person and sell one to many. That's what we do in seminars, in large groups. You get up and you talk to people about how they can grow their business or how they can increase their lifestyle, how they can either make money or save money. And when you teach them that, they will compare the amount of money that they can make to the price that you're going to charge them for learning that. And that comparison is what will allow you to make so much money in the future. I like to hold my right hand higher than my left hand when I'm looking at an audience, and I'll show them. My right hand is higher in the air, and I said, this is how much money you can make with this information. And then I'll have my left hand lower, and I said, now this is what it might cost you to get that information. Now let me ask you this, and I'm talking to an audience. If you could invest $5 into an item that you could sell for $20, would you do it? And they said, well, yeah. Well, how many of those would you like to do? And the answer is normally as many as I can get. Well, in the wealth building process, you're saying, I want you to change that dollar sign to a percent sign. If you could borrow money at 5% and invest it at 15%, would you do it? And I said, yeah. How much would you want to do? And they said, as much as you could possibly do. Now, the third principle that we that I teach people on how to sell from the platform is do the same example. Now, if you had an opportunity to invest $2,000, but you could make over $100,000 a year for the rest of your life, would that be a good investment? And they say, absolutely, because it's exactly what people have the opportunity to do when they hang with the kind of people that come to the big seminar. Everybody there is in the same boat. We want to make a investment one time, and we want to use that information over and over and over again for the rest of our lives. It'll be the best investment that anyone could ever make. And when you're a speaker, you're just carrying that whole philosophy over and teaching it to others, and you'll be rewarded tremendously for it.
And that's what really happens in many cases at our seminar. Exactly that. I mean, we have in fact, there's one gentleman on this particular call. I won't mention who he is, but he's actually listening on the other side here. And he came to our seminar. He came to the last 3 seminars actually. And right now his business, because of the seminar that he attended last March, his business is doing over $1,000 a day.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. And he's just doing it, he's just working every day, consistently building his business. Certainly not get rich quick. It took him a year to get to that point, to learn all the information that he needed. He's working with me in one of my programs, and he's over $1,000 a day now that he's making that program. We have another gentleman. His name is Jeff Mills. I'm not sure if he's on this particular call or not, but Jeff, based upon one principle that he learned in Orlando last summer at our seminar, what happened was he took that one principle, and in the last 6 to 7 months, he's earned well over 6 figures with that one piece of information from one speaker from our audience, from our seminar. So
well, that's not unusual, Armin, because when you come to an event like the big seminar, it's what I've noticed is I've been going first as a student and then as one of your speakers, is that every time you go, you seem to be expanding it into a little bit wider concept. Because when I first went, I had no idea about the Internet. I mean, that's the reason I went. I wanted to learn about that. I wanted to expand my business. But then every time you go, it's just a little bit more broad to cover a little bit more areas that we're all interested in. But the main focus is how we're going to do it with this Internet. And one of the principles that I'm going to go to in depth in my presentation there is one of the wealth-building principles is that you need to spend more of your money on things that go up in value versus things that go down in value. What I like to do is tell people, if you would take all of your checks that you wrote last year and you would put them in 2 piles. Pile number 1 is a pile of checks for all the things that you wrote a check for that went up in value. And pile number 2 is all the brutal money wasters that we spend money on that go down in value. Now, what will happen is they'll look at this, and the first stack is going to be much smaller of things that they spent money on that went up in value. And by and large, there'll be 2 things there. One is their education, and the second would be any investments that they have, and third being their home that they have. And almost everything else that they spend money on goes down in value.
Well, it's kind of like buying a car. I mean, some people would buy a car, for example, like a Lexus, that absolutely goes down in value every time. And some people invest their money like in a BMW, for example.
The BMW gets its name from these brutal money wasters. But that's exactly what happens, Armin, is, I drove an old clunker for years and years because I wanted to take my money and put it into things that went up in value versus things that went down in value. Now, the reason I'm talking on this call, if you'd allow me to deviate just a little bit, is for 25 years now, I've taught people the principles of becoming wealthy. Now, when you become a public speaker, a seminar speaker, or a teacher, any of those 3 categories, if you will show people ideas that they can follow that will enhance their financial situation, they will love you for the rest of their life. And to follow up, they will want to invest in more information. I'm going to cover that in depth when I have an opportunity to meet everybody at the big seminar. This is going to be exciting. I go to a lot of events. Like I say, this will be 25 years I'm out here speaking. I have never been to an event that the audience is excited about learning as they are at the big seminar.
Now, John, I want to give people a little background on you, and so they have an idea as far as what you've done, and really what's the qualifications, why they should listen to you. Because I already know why. I mean, obviously, I've learned a tremendous amount of information from you, and still am learning as far as what you from your experiences, which is to my benefit. But let's go back how you got started in your background as far as even prior to public speaking.
Well, I had an automotive repair shop, and I have what I call the 4 phases of my professional career. And if anyone's taking notes, this would be very advantageous to you to write these things down. Phase number 1 is I had a job, and I think everyone can relate to that. And I really did not like that phase of my professional career. I was just like everyone else. I was exchanging my time for money. Now, something happened in my life that just totally changed it forever. Now, I hate to admit this, but it took me a year to go from phase 1 to phase 2. I went to a seminar, and the seminar told me that, I could be wealthy if I would learn these principles and implement them. And then they told me for $500 I could come to a seminar that weekend, and I thought, yeah, I know how you're making your money. You're making your money in a seminar. So I did not enroll, but my friend who went with me, he did. And I'm going to tell you, all the way home, I kept telling him, I cannot believe you did that, man. You just blew $500. You'll never get that back, and I just ragged on him. And then later on, I felt really bad, because what happens when someone wants to improve their lives, it's something about the friends and relatives around them that they do not build them up, they tear them down. And I was guilty of that. But he made $30,000 his first year with what he learned at that seminar. So the second year, when that seminar came back around, I went down there and I signed up, and I made $100,000 on my first real estate deal. Ultimately, I made $1 million, Armin, in just over 3 years. Now, I know that a lot of people today make that just in a few months or whatever, but that was such a huge deal for me. To be a high school dropout, be an automobile mechanic, and make $1 million in just over 3 years. And that became the second stage of my professional career. But I did something that I want everyone to listen to and learn from, if you can, tonight, because this is going to be profitable for you. And that's simply this. As you are learning the skills and the concepts and the techniques that will take you to the next level, especially on the Internet. And the reason I say especially on the Internet, for the rest of your life, people will look at you as a pioneer and one of the most dynamic, profitable marketing methods ever. But if you go to learn with 2 ideas, I want to grow my business, but I want to go into the 3rd phase of my professional career, which is what I did. I simply started teaching people how I did the 2nd phase of my life. And I'm sitting here, Armin, I made more money teaching people how I made my $1 million than I made doing that first section of the real estate. And everybody would come up to me and say, well, if you're making so much money in real estate, why are you doing seminars? And they would always ask you that. And I said, well, I don't have to choose between the 2. I get to do them both. And if you'll count the people in the room and how much they paid me, obviously, the seminar business could be profitable for people. But now, I don't care what you get into. You have to follow the principles of wealth. And the principles there are so many, but one of them that I want everybody to understand is you need to over-deliver. And I can look at the results of a person's seminar and tell you by their results if they are over-delivering or if they're just providing an adequate training. And here's what I do. I will look at the results. And if I looked at the big seminar results, what you'd see by the results is every year more and more people come to this training. That's point one. They do not, these seminars don't grow unless you're over-delivering at that seminar. Second point, they don't come back for a second time unless you're over-delivering. And what everybody needs to understand is that there will be opportunities all around us to spend our money, but there are not that many opportunities around us to invest our money. Invest our money in something that goes up in value, and that's what happens when you put information, good, money-making information between your ears, because nobody can take it from you. You can't lose it in a divorce. You can't lose it through a bankruptcy. You can lose everything you have financially, but you still have what you know how to do. And that's the reason people keep coming back to the big seminar, is because every year, this is like Old Home Week. We go to the big seminar, and you get to see these people. It's like a homecoming or a family reunion, because everybody's there for the same thing, to learn more of how to go to the next level and how to get more out of life financially. And because, hey, I'm going to tell you something. If you take care of your family financially, you don't have near the problems that other families have out here. I can guarantee you about that one.
Now, John, you have literally taught, every successful speaker that I know that does speaking anywhere. I know you've working closely with Mark Victor Hansen. I know you've done things with Jay Abraham. You've done things with Les Brown. You've, the list goes on and on and
I've
on.
done Brian Tracy, Robert Allen, anybody that's been out here a long time. I have worked with them one way or another, because my skill, Armin, is selling from the platform, and that's point one. Point two is selling a high-ticket item from the platform. So I am now in the fourth stage of my professional career. I am showing people how I did the first three phases of my life. And if it's okay, at the big seminar, I'm going to just go into depth to show everyone how they could do what you and I are doing. Fact is, Armin, in your own life, and I remember when you came to the training yourself, you're sitting there, you're making millions of dollars on the internet, and yet there's a whole new income stream out here of people who want to learn what you do.
Exactly.
And if only the selfish refuse to carry on this knowledge, and it becomes a profit center for everyone. I'm going to go into depth on that side of it, just like you're going into depth on the side of how you do it on the internet. I'm going to show people how to be a public speaker and how to make a phenomenal amount of money with it.
Now, just so everyone understands, what John's talking about here is, see, we've all heard of a funnel concept. We've all heard about that. Okay, if you come in with I don't care if your starting point is $19, which is some people's. Mine happens to be $97. A person buys one of my products for $97. That's my low end of my funnel. Then I have other products, services, courses that $247, $497, $1,000, and more. And then I have classes. I have trainings that I do, actually, that many of you probably don't even know that I personally do, which I do them because I only offer them at actual seminars. John's talking about big-ticket items, and my big-ticket items are usually around $2,000 plus, and sometimes much more than that. And then we have a platinum club as well, too, that Alex Mondosian and myself do, which is $16,000 a year, which many of you probably don't even know that we even do. But one of the things I think you need to understand, and John touched on it, is that the seminar business itself, it's like adding another income stream to what you're doing already. Now, think about this. Now, let's just use my case as an example. A $2,000 product, and let's just assume that there's 10 people, let's say there's 300 people in a room, which is pretty common at many seminars that I speak at. 300 people in a room, and if I only sold 10% of those people during 90 minutes of me talking, I brought in $60,000 for 90 minutes worth of work. Now, the question to everybody here, and it's kind of a silly question, but how many people would like to make $60,000 for 90 minutes of work? I think you all would probably want to do that. Now, that's the reason why people start teaching. That's the reason why people start doing it. And you know what? As you are a teacher, you start to learn even more about it makes you a better marketer, because you learn more from teaching than you do even from doing it yourself, because now I have to analyze everything that I do so I can teach it to someone else. So it makes me a better marketer overall by teaching someone else. Plus, I think we can all agree that the money's pretty good for doing that. And there is an art, and as John said, there is a skill. Certainly, to me, it's the most profitable skill that I could ever have learned, and I'm still learning it, quite honestly, and that is how to speak and how to get people to buy your products live in person. And it's not complicated, but there is a system, there is a method that you need to know, and that is exactly what John teaches you at the seminar.
Let me teach some of it now, Armin, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead.
Because a lot of people around here, they thinking, yeah, well, Armin, you're an expert. John, you may be an expert. But they think they're not an expert. Well, I want you to write these three categories down. These are the three categories of people that make excellent speakers. Now, number one, the one everyone thinks you have to be a speaker, is the authority. And Alex is an authority on marketing. Armin is an authority on marketing. All the people that, like Stu McLaren is an authority. As a young person, he's an authority on creative thinking. You get the best of the best there. They are the authority. Okay, now that's one category. But we can all agree, if you were the authority on something, everyone would want you to speak. But what happens if you're not an authority? How do you get in front of an audience? Who will let you? Well, there are two more categories. One is a reporter. Now, a reporter just means you're wearing a different hat when you're speaking. Instead of saying, let me tell you what I did and that you can do the same thing I did, that's what an authority would say. You will say as a reporter, look, I went to the big seminar, and I studied with 10 of the brightest minds in the world, and let me tell you what I learned from them. Now you're reporting what other people have taught you. Now, don't belittle that position. It will enable you to become a speaker much quicker. Now, one of the things I like to say is the book Think and Grow Rich was written by a man named Napoleon Hill. This book has sold millions of books since its inception. Someone has said it's the best self-help book other than the Bible that's ever been written. Now, it is a classic, but Napoleon Hill was not one of the authorities that were being interviewed in that book. The whole book was about the 500 wealthiest people of that day and time and what they had in common. But Napoleon Hill was nothing other than a reporter. And I've seen so many people take that. They came up to me and said, John, that was so good that you shared that with me, because I thought I had to be an authority on something. When you told me I could be a reporter and just report what I had learned from others, all of a sudden it enabled me to go out and tell people all the things that have been bottled up in me all my life. Now, that's the second category of people that can really do well. Now, the third category that we all fall under is when you're a student. Now, I remember when I went to that first seminar. It took me a year to finally get there. But when I went out and put that first deal together, I went to an investment club. And they said, oh, John Childers bought his first piece of real estate. John, stand up and tell everybody what you put together. Man, my knees were shaking. My voice was shaking. I can still remember my whole body shaking, but I could actually hear my voice shaking. That was what's so embarrassing. But, Armin, I'm telling you, when I started telling people how I put my deal together, people were hanging on every word. And, I mean, they couldn't get enough of it. And the reason, I was not the authority. I was not a reporter. I was a student just like them. And if there's one characteristic that I've tried to keep for all my speaking career, is that student ability. Because, folks, let me show you how I got started. And let me show you how I did my first deal. They want to relate to someone just like them. So one of those three categories, anyone can get up and be a speaker. The problem is when people try to be the authority when they should be a student or they should be a reporter. Now, that's the first thing I'd like to share. Second, if you'd like to get a great home study course and get a topic going right away, here's the way you do it. Go to a library, get yourself a Dummies or an Idiot's Guide book, and look at the table of contents. That table of contents has probably got 10 to 20 pages. Whatever the subject matter you'd like to talk on, the one you're the most interested on, the one you have information, you got all kinds of information in your head that's just trying to get out. Look at the table of contents of an Idiot's Guide, and it will show you the proper flow to present information. It's not plagiarizing. It's simply following a proper flow of the information that's in you, and just let it flow. And then you can do a seminar, you can tape it, and I'll show you how to have a book in 3 days.
Now, that's pretty simple. In fact, some people may be thinking, John, that's probably a little too simple. It's got to be more complicated than that.
Well, I think one of my skills is bringing things down to its simplest form. Fact is, let me expand on how a person does their first seminar. And if you take this Idiot's Guide and you've got just an outline that gives you the proper flow, get about 10 of your friends together and say, look, I'm doing a seminar, and instead of being $1,000 a day, I'll let you come for $100 a day, and just hold it for 3 days in a row. Now think about it. If 10 people paid you $300, that's $3,000 that you get paid to do a taping session. Now what you do is you take your outline and you teach all the things that you know, just following these points, point after point after point. But you record this information. Record it digitally. There's a program out here called Sonic Soundforge Studio, and it costs less than $100. And put it on your laptop and record your presentation. Now, if you can send it to idictate.com or youdictate.com as a WAV file, and they will transcribe your presentation for you for a penny a word. Okay, now, when they send it back to you, you have your presentation transcribed in the correct flow. It's a Microsoft Word document. Put it all together, and you've got a book. Now, it's an oversimplification of a process, because that's what everyone needs to learn. I don't care what you want to do in life. You need, as a student, to understand that there's a process, a system, a method, a way, and if you would learn that recipe, you just follow it right on down the line. So there are people all over the world that all they want is that recipe. And there's another group of people out here that said, look, I have the recipe. Would you like for me to teach it? So you got teachers and students in every walk of life out here. And everyone is happy. I have to compliment you, Armin. I have been doing seminars for 25 years. And when the people come to the big seminar, the seminar may end, the teaching may end, late afternoon. But that's when the networking begins. And the networking is not anything they pay for. This is where the camaraderie builds. This is why I call it a family reunion, a homecoming, because we're all sitting around and we're talking about the new ideas. Well, let me tell you, remember when so-and-so was the big seminar last time speaking? I took that idea, and this is how I tweaked it. I massaged it, and this is how it worked in my business. And then when I say that idea, Stu joins in. He said, yeah, well, I tweaked it also. And then, see, when Stu McLaren's there, he's like an idea incubator. I mean, you just get an idea, and it just grows and grows and grows, and he shares it with everyone. And that's the whole thing is sharing out here in the networking. I learn more after the speakers finish than I did by listening to the speakers. But I'm not putting the speakers down. I'm saying that the speakers are there to plant seeds. They plant seeds in our brain, and then when we sit back and we're having dinner, we can relax and we start our networking. We're all taking these seeds, and as they grow inside our brain, that's where the real money comes, because we're sharing ideas. Because, I mean, you know, I don't know how many we will probably have there this time, a couple thousand people or something. But think about the power of that many brains with that many walks of life sharing how you take one idea, plant that seed in all these brains, and see all the different results of how it's been harvested out there.
You know, and that's probably the most. It's not probably. It is. It is the most. It's the most popular part of our whole event is the networking aspect of it, because what happens, just as John said, is you put all these people in the same room that are like-minded, meaning that they want to accomplish the same things that you do. They want to increase their business. Now, they may not be in the same field as you are. They may not be in the same at the same level that your business. They may be above or below your level. But what happens is when you put that many people in the same room at the same time, something magical happens. And the magic happens is this. It's a synergistic effect where it works kind of like a battery. If you have just one battery, it'll put off only so much energy. But if you put a bunch of batteries together and tie them up, the energy as a whole will be greater than if they were individual. It's just an amazing thing that happens when you put people into a room like that. Ideas start flowing, and from a business standpoint, also joint ventures start flowing, and that is really powerful because you never know exactly who's going to be sitting next to you, in front of you, or behind you at the event, and we encourage people to change their seats every single day in order to meet new and other people. And then what Alex Mondosian has done for me for the last 4 seminars, I should say, is he's taught a networking event on Friday night, which he does is he shows you how to network, meaning what you need to do, exercises, in order to teach you how to introduce yourself and find out what you need to get and what you need to find and how to go about finding these people at this particular event. And once you learn the skills as far as how to do that, which only takes about 2 or 3 minutes to actually even show you what to do, you're out there, you're talking with people, you're generating ideas. It just all happens, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're walking out of there with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different joint ventures that you didn't have beforehand. But more than that is that you walk out knowing that those people are not only maybe potential business partners, but they're also going to be lifelong friends, which to me is certainly more important. But a friend that's also a business partner is probably the most powerful thing that you can possibly have in business today. And I've got several great people like that are part of my inner circle, my network of people. And so there's a lot of things other than the seminar. But John, you've managed to break this whole public speaking seminar business down into such simplistic terms that literally no matter what topic that people have, they can actually go out and do this. I mean, the idea, for example, the Dummies book. The Dummies book is, again, it's a very simple idea. I'm not sure how many people have ever even thought about doing something like that, but it's so true because when you open up one of those Dummies books, those outlines that they give you is probably better than most presentations that I've seen from many speakers because it's so laid out and so thought through in a logical sequence that literally anyone can learn from there. But you've laid it out and you've figured this out where anyone, no matter what business they're in, that they can actually go ahead and do this themselves. Now John, you mentioned a scenario about only 10 people at a seminar and charging them $300 a piece to record that particular event, and that's $3,000 that a person could put into their pocket.
Well, and that's a very simple way. When I did my first seminar, I had to pay $2,500 to have them come out to record it. Things have changed. Now think about the value if someone had been in the same business I'm in now. If someone would have said, John, look, you don't have to pay somebody $2,500. There, you can get 10 times the quality in recording if you just did it this way, and then they laid it out 1, 2, 3, 4. Now think about it. If someone had said, hey, John, give me $500 and I'll show you how to save that $2,500 and have a much better quality, I'd say, show me. And that's the power of the business that we're in. And I'm assuming that almost, if anybody's on this call, they're probably one way, form, or fashion in what we call the information generation, because our country went through several cycles. In the beginning, we were an agricultural society. Then we went into an industrial society. Then we went into a manufacturing society. That's the way our economy existed. But we are now in an information society. And the key is, since we are in an information society, you better get into something in which you have information that people will pay you for. Now, the Internet is an absolute phenomenal way to sell information. And you can deliver that information. In other words, you can deliver your product digitally, which means your product cost is going to be, in a lot of cases, zero. So you can make a tremendous profit. Now, what I like to tell people is if you're going to produce a home study course, and I want to just break it down to people to show them how much they can make, they should make at least 1,000% markup on any book or any home study course that they have. Last week I was doing a training in Nashville, Tennessee, and I had a professional golfer there. And he spent 5 years on a professional golf course. He paid me a lot of money to come there. And we sat down, and he said, well, John, can you show me? I got this great book on how to play golf. And I'm holding it in my hand right now. It is a great book. And he says, how would you suggest that I market this book? And he'd been there in my training a couple of days, and he was all hung up on wanting to sell this book. And I had just finished teaching a concept, and I want to share that concept with everyone here. If you have information that people can make money with or save money with, it falls under what's called a monetary topic. If they can make money with it or save money, it's a monetary topic. Now, if they can't make money or save money with that topic, it is a non-monetary topic. Now, one of those two categories, every presentation, every piece of information fits in one of those two categories. Here's why people should choose, in my opinion, a monetary topic. You can multiply your hard cost. In other words, what does it cost you to produce your CDs, your books and all? By 20 to 30 if you're in a monetary topic. If you're in a non-monetary topic, you can multiply by about 10, which is not bad. So he's selling his golf book for about 10 times what he paid for it. He says, yeah, I pay $2 for these books, and I sell them for $20. And he says, so I've multiplied my hard cost by 10. And I said, and what he was asking me is, how can I take the subject of golf and make it a monetary topic, because it's a non-monetary topic? And we sat down and we thought, and we came up with this idea. It's called building your business with golf. And all of a sudden, with a topic, his whole business has changed around, because now people will come to him because, think about it, just the topic alone makes the training tax deductible.
Right.
Because you're building you're going to a training to learn how to build your business. Anytime you're going to a training like the big seminar, it's tax deductible because people are learning how to increase the revenue of that business. So whatever the cost is, you knock 30-something% off because you're not paying taxes on it. So he was excited about this, of just one idea on your own business that can make it 100-fold in his revenue. I mean, he left there and he was just high as a kite, because anytime you come to a good, powerful training in which the promoter is going to over-deliver, you will definitely look back on that saying it's one of the best investments I ever made in my life. And that's a key, Armin, that when people come to a training, they want it to be an investment, not an expense.
And I think, that's the proper way to look at it. And I think that many people, once they start looking at it that way, I mean, I still go to seminars, to this day as a student, and I'll always go to seminars as a student in order to continue my education, because education to me is the most important thing to me in my business. It's, if you want to call it my research and development, that's definitely what it is. I mean, I'm one of Amazon's best friends when it comes to receiving things in the mail from them. And just on my personal education, just so everyone understands this, I believe in my education that every single year I spend, and it increases every year, but I spend on average between $60,000 and $70,000 a year on my personal education, with seminars, with books, with CDs, tapes, DVD tapes. If I can't be there, I will buy the recordings of it, no matter what it is, because I know that the education is what's going to take me to the next level. The thing about your business and with internet marketing and most businesses, for the fact, unless you're a professional, there is no required continuing education expense. You see, if you're a doctor, there's a required amount of continuing education that you need in order to continue being a doctor. If you're a lawyer, there's a certain amount of continuing education that you need to continue to be a lawyer. If you're a real estate person, there's a certain amount of required continuing education in order for you to continue being a real estate agent. Well, the internet business itself, whether you have an internet business or not, whether you're online or offline, most businesses do not have a continuing education requirement imposed by a third-party authority. Well, if there isn't one, then you need to take it into your own hands, and you need to ask yourself, how important is your business to you? And more importantly, how important is your business to your family? And when you put it into that perspective, you'll see it's extremely important that your business succeeds and does well. Because if you're like me, you're probably not doing a business or have a business for your own sake. You're probably trying to build it for other reasons, such as your family, and which is what my main focus, my main goal is to build my business for my family. So my family has something that will continue. Me, as long as I have a White Castle next to me and a computer in front of me, I'm a happy guy. But John, there's so many different things. We could continue on for hours about this business, and I've literally seen you talk for hours about this business and how it works. I think what's important for people to understand right now before we wrap up is that the speaking business, and more importantly even the seminar business, is an entirely breed of a different type of business that many of you have never been exposed to, the inner workings of. I can tell you this, it's one of the most profitable businesses that I've ever been exposed to. Therefore, I certainly continue to do my seminars, because you know what? As John said earlier, this is my option to want to do these seminars. If I never did another seminar, it would not affect my bottom line, because that's not where my primary income comes from. My primary income comes from doing what I love to do best, and that is creating products and selling them online. But the seminars are certainly a very profitable business, but here's what you need to understand. If you're going to think about doing a seminar, you need to learn how to do it properly. I've seen so many of my friends, and some of them weren't my friends, start seminars and try to do them. They didn't know how to do it right. They didn't know what the speaking business was all about, and therefore they tried to change something that has been working for decades. And when you try to change something that's working for decades without knowing the inner workings of it, you are doomed to fail from the very beginning. And these people have tried one seminar, They tried a second seminar. I know one person that ended up over $60,000 in debt because they thought they could do the same things that we were doing in a different fashion because they did not understand the inner workings of this. Folks, this business and what this can do for your business as far as the outreach and putting you in touch with the proper people and the proper ways to do this can expand your business beyond belief. When you start taking what you're doing online and you start teaching other people locally or even nationwide, it's totally up to you. Your business can experience something that very few people have ever have, and that is just literally an explosion in income and also notoriety. One of the main reasons I feel that many people do business is because of this, is that they not only want the money, but they also want the fame to go along with the money. And some people just want the fame. Either way, whatever floats your boat as far as this business goes, there's something in it for everyone, and you can focus on what you need to. But this is very profitable, and it's a skill, I don't care what you're doing, that you need to learn, which is speaking and selling from the platform. And whether you're doing teleseminars or whether you're doing a live one-on-one presentation if you happen to be a salesperson. If you're a salesperson, you need to know what John Chillizer has to say. If you are a person that is just sitting there and you think you're just going to do you're going to do business behind your computer, that's a great thought, and I admire that. But the thing is, eventually you are going to have to talk to somebody, and these skills come into place with everything that you do, and that's what makes it so powerful. So, John, in 2 minutes before we wrap up, just explain to people as a summary as far as what in detail are you going to go over at the big seminar in Atlanta?
Well, number one, I'm going to cover exactly what you just covered, where you talked about the fact that you spent $60,000 a year increasing your education. I want to comment on probably everybody on this call has cost them the same amount for their education, but there's two different things. You know, I was listening to you where you're talking about you're going to have this special thing letting people come to Stu McLaren's Idea Incubator seminar if they enrolled in this training. Well, I'm going to tell you, I learned from this guy one idea that increased my revenue over $100,000 as soon as it was implemented. Now, think about it. If I had not learned that idea, I would have paid that $100,000 as an expense. So what I'm going to share with people is stories, real live testimonial situations, and give everyone the permission to use them in their presentation, because we're going to go step by step, and we're going to break it into 4 categories. I'm going to show you first how the business works out here. Second, I'm going to show you how to develop your own product. Third, I'm going to show you how to market that product and yourself. And fourth, I'm going to show you how to put together an absolute killer sales presentation so that people will run to the back of the room because they can't stand living their life without your information. Now, those 4 categories, I'm going to go into them in as much time as I have there, and everyone there will get excited. It's not because of me. It's because of the message. It's hot, it's profitable, and when you get it, it's like Katie bar the door because the money starts rolling in.
And that sounds, to me, if you miss what John's going to be talking about, you're missing the big part of this whole event, because many of you sit back and you watch what's happening. You may see myself, or you may see Alex Mendoza, and you may see many of the other speakers out there, and you may have met us at a seminar, and you may have seen what we did. You may have thought to yourself in the back of your mind even that I can do it better than these guys, and you know, chances are you may be able to, because thanks for the boost of confidence, John. But you know what? I can tell you this. I'm not the most elegant speaker in the world. You know, I'm certainly not the most brightest speaker in the world. But I do know this, is that what I know how to do as far as in my business goes, a lot of other people want to know how I did it, and they want to know how they can do it too. And I can teach you that. And the speakers that are going to be at my seminar in Atlanta on April 8th, 9th, and 10th are all qualified. Many of them are millionaires multi-times over. And these are the people that you need to expose yourself to. These are the people that you need to surround yourself with. And I said that very specifically. Surround yourself with. Because once you start being with these types of people, once you start hearing what they're saying, once you start understanding what they're saying, all of a sudden something will happen to your business that you just can't explain. You start thinking like these people. You start asking yourself questions. Well, what would John Childers do if he was in this situation? And I ask myself that many times myself, except when I go to buy a car. The next thing is what you do is you actually start making more money because you're being exposed to someone that has done it already. And John, now I want to ask you for one more thing, because you said something one time that you said it many times, but there's one thing that impressed me the most, and that is you talked about the surefire way to become successful. And there's only one surefire way to become successful. Can you explain that to everyone real quick?
Well, I don't know exactly which principle you're talking about.
This principle, and let me lead you into it a little bit because it'll bring you back real quick. And it's the surefire way to become successful, and John stated this at a seminar one time, and he's going to remember real quick. The surefire way is simply this, and that is what you need to do is you need to find someone that has done what
Right.
you want to do, and then become essentially their apprentice.
Absolutely. You got to take a craftsman that's done it. Now, I want to share, I know we're running out of time here, but when I finally went back to college, I had two types of professors. I had, in day school, I had the scholastically educated people, and we've all had them. When they were in high school, college, or math, they all made straight A's and all. And then they decided they were going to teach. Well, because I was a night student, I had a different type of instructor. These were not the scholastically educated. These were the people that were just average, me and you, Armin, and
Right.
and then they decided that they had to go out and into the business world, and they got kicked around, cut, bruised, battle scarred, and then they decided they were going to teach. I have a question. Who do you think I learned the most usable information from? And I guarantee you it was that second teacher. And every speaker at the big seminar falls into that category, in which we're all battle-scarred. And the reason, this is how we make our money every day of our life. And if you want to be successful, you take a craftsman and let that craftsman take an apprentice and tell you how to do it, then show you how to do it, and then make you do it the right way. You take that process of learning, you cannot fail under any circumstances. That's what everyone should do.
And that is the basic principle that we've built the big seminar on. What we have done is we've brought together. You don't have to see if these people are qualified or not. What I've done is I've done that work for you. I've personally met these people. I've seen them. I've seen what they've taught. I've taken, in many cases, many of their classes, many of their workshops, many of their trainings to find out exactly what they do. And if they didn't qualify, then they didn't qualify to speak at my seminar. Because as in my position, what I consider it a responsibility, a very big responsibility, as far as who I put in front of you in order to teach you what you need to do. Quite honestly, $2,000 to come to my event, it's a lot of money. There is no doubt in my mind. But $2,000 is this. As John said earlier, if you could take $2,000 and turn it over to six figures in a relatively short period of time, what would that $2,000 be worth it? Is $2,000 a lot of money at that point? Well, if not, if you could turn it into $100,000, right? Well, that's how you need to look at the seminar, because it's not an expenditure. It is an investment, specifically an investment in yourself and your business, and certainly in your family as well, too. So what I want you to do right now is simply this, and is to take a hard look at what we have to offer at the seminar and simply make a decision. It's either yes or it's no. There is no maybe. It's either you want to come to our seminar and you want to expand your business, or you don't. Either way, we're still going to be friends, and I'm sure I'll see many of you on these conference calls in the future. But I can tell you this, is that the time is running out in the seminar. We're a little over 30 days away from the event. Our hotel is filling up. That's a fact. And what you need to do is you need to make the decision very quickly. I'm giving you a tremendous incentive today to do it, and this is the last day. I sent out an email. In fact, I believe we sent out the email yesterday, late last night, about the recording that we had on Tuesday. Today at midnight, I've given instructions to the people that are handling my website right now to disable the two-payment option. Also, today is the last day to get Stu's update, meaning with Stu McLaren, the seminar, his idea seminar, we're going to give you that as well too. Not only that, but we're giving you over $1,800 in extra bonuses as far as recordings from our other preview calls and things of that nature as well too, that you're going to receive just for coming to the event. This event will be the biggest and certainly the best event that I've put on to date. Just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, you may be investing a little bit of money in your future, but I can tell you this: I'm investing over $250,000 of my own money to put on this seminar for you to make sure that you get to the next stage of your business. Because I want this event. What's important to me is not only to do the seminar, but it's important to me that we get one thing and one thing only from the seminar, and that is results from you and your business. I wouldn't have people coming back to my seminar. In some cases, we have people come back 5 times now. This is their 5th seminar that they've been to. If they've come back 5 times, do you think there's something that they see each and every time that makes them want to come back? Other people may have only come back 4 times or 3 times because they didn't experience my first 2 seminars. Either way, I can tell you this: once you experience what we have and the way that we do it, because we do it unlike any other seminar in the world, guaranteed, as far as how we do it. People have said that we're crazy for doing it the way we do it, but I can tell you this: the method that we have works. It works for others, and it will work for you. So go ahead, go to our website, and here's the website address I want you to go to right now. And the website address is bigseminar.com/indexatlanta.html. Again, bigseminar.com/indexatlanta.html, and you can grab the 2 payment option if that's what you need to do, and you can also receive information that we're going to be sending out first thing in the morning about how to get in on Stu's event in just 2 weeks, absolutely free, where myself, John Childers, Alex Mondosian, Jim Edwards, Stu McLaren, and Matt Basic will be there working with a small group of people. When I say a small group of people, we're only going to be working with about 100 people at most, because that's the most Stu can fit in this room. So it's a very selective group of people, and Stu has given me a few seats. I don't know how many seats that Stu has left, or I'd tell you exactly how many, but I can tell you this: he's probably almost 3/4 of the way there, so there's probably only about 25 seats or so left for his event. So I suggest that you do that quickly, because that seminar alone, it's the first time Stu's ever put on something like this, and the demand is great. So you need to go ahead and register your seat today. So, John, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day and being with us here on the teleseminar this evening.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I want to leave with this final thought. This is the one seminar that will cost you more not to come than it could possibly cost you to come. Good night, Armin.
Good night, everybody. Everyone have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
And again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the conference call tonight. My name is Armin Moore, and you're on the Big Seminar Preview Series, and we've got a great conference call in store for you this evening. We're going to be talking with my good friend John Childers. We're going to tell you who John is, what he does, and how he has helped me earn not just 7 figures, but multiple 7 figures. That means, yes, a couple $1 million. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we do, the reason why we are doing these calls is all about our big seminar that is coming up. Many of you have heard of the big seminar. If you're on this call, you have heard of the big seminar. You've seen our website. You've seen the testimonials that people have given us prior. Actually, these testimonials, let me tell you how we do the testimonials at the big seminar. At the end of the seminar, you can see some pictures right on the website as far as how many people were there. The last big seminar that we held in Los Angeles back in November had about 400 people at that event. This event, we're going to have about 500 people there from literally all over the world. But at the end of the event, this is after they spent 3 days with all of our experts. This is exactly what they said. And you can go to the Big Seminar website, and you can actually see for yourself what these people said. These were live from our actual last event. There was no prompting. This is what they said. All we said is just, if you'd like to give us a testimonial, come up over to our testimonial booth. And this is all the testimonials that we received. In fact, there's actually too many that we couldn't put on the website, quite honestly. So, but you can go there. You can see from different people, from brand new people to experienced people, people from all over the world, giving us their testimonials as to what the benefits were for the big seminar for them. It was just amazing, and we've done this 7 times. This is going to be our 7th big seminar coming up. That's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia on April 7th, 8th, 9th, and you need to be there. Absolutely, you absolutely have to be there. In fact, we have made an incentive for you. In fact, one incentive is actually gone already, and that is Stu McLaren's event, which is going on right now. But I made arrangements also with a friend of mine, Mark Victor Hansen, and Mark has allowed me to do this. Simply, when you register your seat for the big seminar, you can receive a free ticket to Mark Victor Hansen's Mega Marketing Magic Seminar on March 3rd through 5th in just a couple weeks. So, again, that's a huge, huge incentive. If you go to Mark's website right now, it's $1,497 to purchase that seminar online. You're going to get it for free just for registering your seat. So if you live on the West Coast, this is absolutely double bang for the buck because of the fact that you get not only my seminar, you get Mark's seminar, plus you get over almost $2,000 in bonuses just for signing up for your seat for the big seminar. The reason why you should, very simple. If you're serious about making money online, if you're serious about taking your business to the next level, this is where it happens. In fact, some of our speakers are people that had came to the big seminar multiple times. In fact, Dave Lucani, one of our speakers who we just spoke with the other day, Dave actually came to the big seminar several times as an attendee. In fact, Dave was one of the people I was actually giving away a car at the event. Dave had won the car, and I had flown out to where Dave lives, and he didn't want the car, quite honestly. What he did is he wanted the cash, so I gave him a big old check for about $20,000, and Dave is now a speaker at our event. Mike Filsame, who's actually one of the people that we've talked to previously. Mike, as many of you know, did butterfly marketing. Mike's come to the big seminar multiple times now, and each one of these people, not only are they, again, they're coming to learn, they're coming to build their business to the next level, and you can see some of the results of what has happened to them, the contacts they've had. In fact, with the contacts that Mike has made, not only from my event, but from other events, he was able to produce over $1 million in 5 days in the recent product promotion. We have people like Yannick Silver going to be there, Declan Dunn. I mean, these two guys are literally some of the pioneers on the Internet. It's just amazing. We've got Morgan Westerman. Morgan Westerman, as a lot of you don't know, if you go to Google and you type in the word God, G-O-D, God, what will happen is that you will find that the number one site listing in Google for God is a website called The Interview with God, and that is Morgan Westerman's website. And Morgan has had over 40 million people visit his website through a viral marketing technique that he has done and has created. He has shown not only himself that it works, certainly, but he's also showed tons of other people. And he's going to show everyone at the big seminar how that happens. We've got Mike Stewart. Many of you know that Mike is one of the experts online as far as video infomercials, video blogging, video auctions, and much, much more. He's just going into areas with video that I would have never guessed that would have worked. We've got Craig Perrine, who's going to teach you about email marketing. I mean, a lot of people think email marketing is dead. Well, put it this way. I got all you people on this call today via email marketing. So is it dead? I don't think so. But there are some things that you can do right now to enhance your email marketing, and there are shocking information that's going out there about email marketing right now. Craig's going to give you truly the insider secrets on how to do that. We have Stephen Pierce. Many of you know Stephen. In fact, I'm at an event right now. Stephen's downstairs. He's speaking at this event, and we're out in Anaheim, California. And Stephen is actually leaving here because he has to go to a meeting tomorrow with Ford Motor Company because they want to learn the techniques that Stephen knows. Stephen's working with Google. He's working with Amazon. These big, big companies are hiring Stephen, paying him huge, huge money in order to learn what he knows. Don't you think that you should learn something from Stephen as well? Well, you can, and you can do that at the big seminar. We have Alex Mundozi, a good friend of mine, a partner in several companies that I co-own with him, and Alex is going to be talking about conversion. I mean, Alex is one of the first people on the net to talk about conversion. There's only 2 ways to make money online, to make more money online, I should say. It's either increase the amount of traffic coming to your site or increase the conversion of the existing traffic. The easiest out of the two is certainly the conversion process. Alex has developed techniques that we have developed together as well that have just proven so to increase your income so much that it's unbelievable. And there are things what I refer to as 5-minute marketing, and Alex is going to show you all that as well as myself. And I'm going to be talking about a subject that you guys never would guess that I'm going to talk about. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but the fact is that each and every big seminar that I do, I try to do something different than I've never done before, and I've been succeeding at that a lot. And this time I'm going to talk about something that you would never guess I'm going to talk about, but it's a way that you're going to be able to increase your income dramatically right now, today. Now, there's one thing I have to tell you about is that the big seminar, and it's in Atlanta, Georgia, April 7th, 8th, and 9th. You need to register your seat now because the hotel is selling out quickly. And if you go to Atlanta, Georgia, and you try to book a hotel downtown during these dates, you will find out that the only rooms available in the city at this point, in downtown area, is the room block that we have for the big seminar. Why? Because there's a city-wide event going on the same weekend. So it's very important. If you want to stay in the same hotel as the big seminar, which I highly recommend, because you are going to be up late, you're going to be networking, you're going to be just learning all kinds of information from other people as well, and you need to be at that same hotel. So you need to register your seat quickly for that particular event. And we're going to provide the meals for you. We're going to do all kinds of crazy things. We're going to have a great time. I mean, last time I did a casino night on Saturday night. This time we're doing some neat things that we're putting the final touches on. I'll tell you more about that in the future. But you have to register your seat immediately. And, again, we only have a few days left before the two-payment option is totally done away with. In fact, on the 28th of February, if you want to break that down in two payments, it's gone, because we have to remove that off, and then it will be only one payment. So if you need to break it down, go ahead, do it now, or else you won't have that option. So with that being said, let's get on with tonight's call. And again, the person I want to introduce you to is a person that I met about a little over 2 years ago, and it's a pretty interesting story because of the fact that I had heard about this person. I had heard about him from a good friend of mine, actually Alex Mondosian. Alex went to his event. Alex literally calls me up, and this is exactly what he said, word for word. He says, I found the guy. I found the guy that can help us make a lot of money. I was like, really? I said, okay. Well, I didn't really take action on that. That was about in February of that year. It wasn't until November that I took action on that. Now, in the first the first 2 months after I took this person's training, John Childers' training, what happened was that I did over $250,000 in business as a result of that. Since that time, I have done well over $2 million in gross sales as a result of what John has taught me. In 2 years, that means I averaged over 7 figures each and every year since I have taken John's training. So do I recommend it? Absolutely. Is John someone that I think is important for you and your business? 100%. In fact, anyone that's ever asked me about this, I've said the same thing. You need to go see John Childers because he is the man. He is the one that does it. So with that being said, John, I want to welcome you to the conference call tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I tell you what, I have never seen anybody give so much information and so many bargains in such a short period of time.
It helps to talk fast. Well, John, now a lot of people on this call know who you are. A lot of people know your background, but there's a large percentage of people on this call because you don't really teach internet marketing, but you teach a skill, as you refer to it, that is the most important skill in the world. And explain to everyone what that skill is.
Well, I'd be glad to. What I consider the world's most profitable skill is being able to speak, being able to communicate. Being a public speaker is just a broad category of it, but being able to communicate with an audience. Now, as you would hear me right now, I guarantee you everybody probably has the same idea, and that is, well, this is probably the least likely person that you'd ever think about being a public speaker. And not only am I a public speaker, I am a coach for public speaking. I teach people how to be a seminar speaker, a public speaker, how to communicate. And what is so amazing to the people who come to my training is that they listen to me and they think, well, if this guy can do it, I know I can do it. Now, I say that because I went to a seminar once, and the guy that was teaching was so good. He was so smooth. I mean, you're sitting there, you're just in awe of that public speaker. But I remember sitting there and said, I could never do that. Absolutely. He was eloquent, and here I am. I'm from the South. I grew up in the South. I have a heavy accent, and I'm thinking, who's going to listen to me? But I learned something, and I want to share it with everybody tonight because if you can just pick up on this, everyone on this call could tap into the 7 figures a year that you're making, Armin. I'm making it. Everyone can tap into it because here's the secret. You do not have to be an authority to be a public speaker. You can have the accent. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of characteristics that people, if they look at what it takes to be a public speaker, the number one characteristic, and this is what I've found by teaching speakers for years and years and years now, teaching them the art of public speaking, there's one huge secret. You just need to be yourself. And I've seen people train, go to all kind of specialized fix-me-up seminars to learn to change their vocabulary and all that. I guess it's good, but when you want to teach people how to do something, they will relate to a speaker that they feel is more like them, down to earth. And I found that being from the South, not only was it not a handicap, but it was good. We talk slower in the South, and by talking slower, it's just calming, disarming. You're able to speak in a way, and you're showing people how to do something that they really want to do. So if anybody's listening right now and you're thinking, well, I'm not sure I could be a public speaker, well, just listen to me for a moment. Listen to my accent. It's heavy. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And not only have I done it, for this has been my 25th year as a public speaker, Armin, I have made millions and millions of dollars as a public speaker. And now I took that skill, and I said, because I have two sons, both of them are public speakers. They learned these same skills and make large incomes from this. I always thought I'll never teach anybody these secrets other than my two sons. And they came and said, Dad, hey, go for it. Teach everyone. And it was almost like a fluke. I just decided one day I'll start teaching people how to be a public speaker. And people started flocking in. And I think the key and the reason so many people come to me not only is because I can teach them how to do it, and I can teach them how to present information that makes them a lot of money, but what makes it different is that they're actually helping their audience achieve things. I remember when Alex Mongdosian came to the class, and I remember when you came to the class. I knew then that the two of you would hit the ground running and there'd be no stopping, because both of you have one characteristic that I knew would take you to the top, and that's the fact that you care about the people. And you're always just teaching. You're bombarding people with information about how they can go to the next level, especially financially. That's what made me get started. And anybody that's listening tonight, you can be a public speaker, especially if you come to like the big seminar, learn how to be a speaker, because it's nothing other than marketing. And what I like to tell people is listen to all the speakers. Take the things that fit in your life and start teaching people, helping everyone around you, and you can go to the top too. So how's that for my opening statement there?
That sounds good to me. In fact, one of the things a lot of people, every time someone comes to the big seminar, I always get bombarded, and even prior to the big seminar, people are always asking me, Armin, I would like to speak on your stage. I have something to teach, and I want to speak on your stage. And my first thought is, okay, but first of all, I've never seen you speak before, so I don't know if you can communicate to people. The second part is I always tell them the same thing. I said you need to go to John's class. For example, a classic example of that is Mike Filsaime. Mike Filsaime, I think it was about a year ago or so, took your class, and I had a talk with Mike at Stephen Pierce's event, and Mike, asked me that same exact question. He said, "Now, Armin, I'd really want to speak on your stage." I said, "Mike, I really like you." I said, "What you need to do," I said, "if I were you, is I would go to John's class." And since then, if you look at the events that are coming up right now, Mike Filsaime is on a lot of those events, is because he can communicate extremely well, and he's got a great story. And John, one of the things that you taught me was, it's not only the fact about speaking to people, and it's talking to people and communicating with people, is the fact that you have to have good content in order to explain something to people. And you have some tremendous techniques that just really break it down for people.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that with other people and complimenting me on that. But what I found out is that most people think that they have to be an expert, an authority on something. But if you're listening right now, I want you to write this down.
You do not have to be an authority. You can be a reporter. Now, a reporter is someone who reports what the experts have taught them. So you don't have to be an authority. You can say, and I've seen people go into the speaking business by putting out an internet website that says, let me tell you what I learned at the big seminar. Because they didn't want to pay the fee or something. And these people says, let me tell you the highlights of what I learned. Now, that's an example of how someone is a reporter. Now, I know that a person would be a lot better off if they asked or they asked the authority, or if they had the opportunity to speak and learn from the authority. That's what's so great about the big seminar, is that you've got the authorities there. But you also don't have to start as the authority. None of them did. None of us that are authorities now started that way. And here's what everybody has to write down. And it's a question. The question is, have you ever started something new already experienced? It's not possible. So speaking is new to you. It was new to all of us when we started. And almost every person started by teaching what they had learned from someone else, wearing the hat of being a reporter. If you look at USA Today, if you look at every magazine out here, all of the articles are written by reporters. Very few of them are written by the authority. So you can quote the authorities, you can get the credibility, but you can start immediately by giving content. Now, there's a third person that makes a great presenter, and the people that you were talking about a while ago started, and as they started speaking, they told the audience what happened when they got started. Getting started is the number one topic of interest at every seminar, at every conference. How do you get started? Well, the best person to teach that is someone who has just gone through that experience. So anyone can talk about how to get started because they are an authority on getting started, and that's what most people want to learn. So you don't have to be an authority to begin speaking. And once that barrier is gone in your mind, you can also become the authority just by going through those previous two steps. Become a student and talk about what it's like to get started. Then become a reporter. Talk about, now, as I was getting started, I listened to these people, and this is what they taught me. Then as you're speaking on these two subjects, you all of a sudden become an authority. When you go to a conference, especially these that are so good that they attract hundreds of people, you can't have a conference like the big seminar if it's not good, especially year after year after year. Because the way you become good as a speaker is the same way you become good putting on conferences. People want content. They want to go to something. They want to listen. They want to learn. And the secret of being a great seminar speaker or a great public speaker is just teach, teach, teach. Give so much information that someone says, wow, I can't imagine learning that much information in an hour or 2 hours. I was listening, I think it was last year that I was at the big seminar, and I was listening to some people out there, and it was on the final day, and they were talking about, man, I am brain dead. And everybody says, me too. Now, that was not a derogatory statement. That was the ultimate compliment. What they were saying is they had received so much valuable information, they just couldn't hold anymore. And then I said, well, are you going to come next year? Oh, yes. We wouldn't miss this for the world. And the reason is because it's content-rich. Now, the reason I bring that in, Armin, is not necessarily to compliment you, although it is a compliment, but to let people know that that's the way you deliver information as a public speaker. And when you get a reputation of really teaching a lot of information, It's easy then to get speaking positions like at the big seminar, like at these other conferences, because conference promoters are always looking for great speakers that have got valuable content and are willing to share it with others.
And that's so important because, again, a lot of people listening right now are probably wondering, I've been hearing about this big seminar, maybe, if they haven't been before, and they're wondering, what kind of content, what kind of information, and that's one thing that we always push is, again, people pay a lot of money to come to our seminar, and we don't take it lightly. We want to provide as much information as possible. And when a lot of people, one of the things that you talked about was them having to be an authority on this whole on their subject, and a lot of people may be thinking right now, I sell on the internet, or I am in some obscure market where I don't think I'm ever going to be a public speaker in that particular industry or market. And I just want to let people know that as your business progresses, there will come a time where someone's going to ask you to speak on that particular subject somewhere. That's just the evolution of a business. And as you build a successful business, you will go out there and you will be speaking somewhere. Now, again, one of the things I want to make this very clear to everyone is that John does not teach you how to be, again, as he has said, eloquent on stage at all. I mean, because if you heard me speak, you would know that immediately. And I make mistakes. I really mess up the English language. But the fact is that what John has taught me is how to communicate that over in order to have what's referred to as platform sales. And everything that you do in life is based upon sales, whether it be an email that you write, whether it be a website sales letter that you write, whether it be going down and talking to someone and negotiating and buying that new car, whether it be buying that new house, or just really dealing with people on a day-to-day basis in your business. Everything is based around sales. You have to have that ability to, first of all, communicate what it is that you want, what it is that you're willing to give, and also the ability to essentially persuade a person towards your point of view and towards what you believe. And John, you've done this just really on a subtle way, because anyone that's ever heard you and everyone that's ever seen you, and I can certainly attest to that, is that when we're talking about sales, we're not talking about a hardcore sales approach.
No, there's not, and never have what's called a hard close. Now, you can learn methods of presenting information and presenting a product that actually is so soft, but at the same time it's so powerful. There's a skill to that. Fact is, that's why people come to me, because I've had people come up and my training is very expensive, but then what I did is turn around and I made it an offer to people. I said, look, if you think my training is expensive, here's what I'll do. I'll finance the whole thing for you. If it doesn't work for you, you don't have to pay me. And I started doing that, and people all of a sudden let me know they don't care how much it is. Now, they'll put like a small amount down to go to the formal training, but the rest of it, the majority of it, they don't even pay until they start making money. Now, the way they make money is by selling an information product. Well, the only way they will ever sell an information product is that they learn how to present so much information in such a short period of time that the audience says, wow, if I learned that much in an hour, what would I learn if I got 8 hours worth of information from this person? Or, in good gracious, Armin, in your case, they're getting 3 days worth of information from sun up to sundown. And people, they want more and more and more, and they'll pay for it. So what I would have to say that is, of all the thousands of people that I've taught to be a public speaker, the ones that go the quickest are the internet marketers. And the reason is that anybody that's making money on the internet is already doing what we do as public speaking. They're already communicating with the audience. They already have some type of product, even if it's selling someone else's product. They're already accustomed to helping people change their life, helping people have a better life, helping inspire them. So internet marketers already have the ingredients that it takes to be a public speaker. What they don't have is of the 4 categories of fine-tuning it toward the speaking profession. Basically, what we do and what I'm going to share with people at the big seminar is 4 categories that you have to understand in speaking. I was talking to a very successful public speaker today. It's a lady. She's been speaking for 12 years now. And last year she made $20,000 as a public speaker. She's a professor at a college, and she made $20,000 speaking extra. And someone referred her to me. And she said, I've been speaking for 12 years. What can you show me that I don't already know? I said, well, number one, I'll show you how to turn that $20,000 into a minimum of $200,000. Because, ma'am, I hate to tell you this, but you understand speaking, but you don't understand the speaking business. You have to learn the business of speaking if you want to profit from it. And that's the big insider secret, is how do you make money from this? When you learn that secret, then you go to the next one, because there's 4 categories I'm going to share with people. And one is the business of being a seminar speaker. The second thing is how to produce product. Because if you're going to sell information, how do you package it? How do you package it in a way that you can get the most money for it, and at the same time, people want more? They want more because the way you put the product together has everything to do with making people want it. Making them want it has everything to do with, does it work for them? Because when you can help people change their life, if you can help people accept new ideas, if you can help inspire them, motivate them, encourage them to go to the next level in their life, they will want a product from you. And that's different than saying you sold them something. When you accomplish that, they want more information from you, meaning they're asking you. You're not trying to push something on them. That's what makes the big difference there.
That's really important because, hard sell, just like you're talking about, unlike you're talking about, I should say, where people go in. I mean, a lot of people on this call know that I sold vacuum cleaners for 5 years, and the average time I was in this person's home was about 2 hours long. And just think about that, 2 hours long to sell us, at that time, a $1,400 vacuum cleaner. Well, we never called it a vacuum cleaner. It was a home maintenance system. But in that 2 hours, though, I never really was pushy with them. All I did was simply do this, is I asked them questions and I let them make their own decision. I gave them enough information for them to make an educated buying decision. And based upon the answers to the questions that I asked, their own answers, they were able to make that decision. And that's a lot about what you're talking about here, where if you can present the information in the proper way, and that will lead the person to making the decision, and hopefully a decision aligns up with what the product that you have. And, one of the things, you mentioned something about the way the product is and the packaging of that product. John, a few years ago, and I know a lot of the people that you know and a lot of people that I know were under this impression that, just take the product in its raw form, just put it into something. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but just put it into something and then sell it, because people are not paying for packaging. People are paying for the content of that product.
Well, I know that there's a lot of thought that gone behind that statement, but I want to comment on 2 things here. I believe that the packaging says more about who you, the speaker, is than what the content is. If you're going to charge people a good, fair, reasonable price for information, why don't you let them know the kind of person you are and deliver it in a quality type format? I've bought encyclopedias. The ones that I'm the proudest of are the ones that cost the most money, that are up there on the bookcase, that are packaged in very expensive packaging. The one that I'm the least proud of came on a CD-ROM that I can pull all kinds of things. It's a much better product because it's all content, but the packaging was not the same. I want something that's packaged properly, and it's just like when we dress, we're packaging ourselves. So I teach people how to come up with their product, how to package that. I also wanted to say something about the term hard sell.
Sure.
I think it comes from the fact that if your product is hard to sell, you have to have a hard sell. That's where the term came from. But when, like you said, it's a home maintenance system if you're talking about vacuum cleaners. Selling information is such an easy thing to do if you are delivering good information that's substantive, that's going to change people's lives and help them go to the next level. Now, there's one topic that if you can teach this topic, people will pay you more information, more money for that information. And the topic is if it has anything to do with making money or saving money. That's the reason that I told you earlier that anyone that is on the internet, anyone that has done any marketing on the internet, that's the reason I love speaking at your conferences, because those are my people. They already are in the arena. They're going to show people how to maybe make money on the internet, how to buy products on the internet, how to improve their lives financially with their products. So if you can have any information that's available to people that has to do with improving their lives financially by making money or saving money, they will come to you. And once again, when someone is asking you for more information, today I was searching all over the internet because I wanted an information package on how to do a particular task. And I'm looking, searching, and no one had it. And I'm thinking, I would pay $500 or $600 if someone would teach me how to do this particular task. And no one had a product like that. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, there will be one out there in about a month. Because if I need it, other people will need it. So it's easy to find needs of the public. And if you find what they need and what they want, and you provide it, that's not a hard sell. That's an easy sell, because now you're just taking orders because people will call you. You said a term a while ago about viral marketing. What I get excited about is, yes, when I come to the big seminar, I teach people how to give an additional stream of income to their business, and that be a public speaker. But when I love sitting there, and I'm just enthralled at all the ideas, because every idea there helps every person there in one way or another. I mean, I'll sit there and I'll listen to one speaker, and they're just sitting there, and I'm in awe of how that's going to change my business. And then I'll get up there, and they are in awe about how being a public speaker is an additional, and it's going to change their business. Because if you want to be an authority, if you want to be the expert in your field, you need to start giving presentations. There's something about being on the stage, being on the platform, that gives, and I'll say this carefully, undeserved appreciation. We don't necessarily deserve this star status that audiences give us, but you might as well benefit from it. I have taught chiropractors, doctors, dentists. I've taught plumbers. I've taught carpenters. I was teaching a group of people the other day. They design flowers. I don't care what your profession is. If you learn how to speak and you go out and start speaking on your subject, all of a sudden you get more business in what you already were doing because you were a speaker. Now, these are people that they are not even selling products. They're just going out to educate the public about their profession, about their craft. I was talking to someone the other day, and I found a book that I'm able to share with people that they can take this book, take paper, fold it, cut it, and make the little dollies. And they're enthralled with this little craft. And it's just kind of like a hobby. But all of a sudden, I got a telephone call saying, look, we want you to go on a cruise ship and teach people how to fold paper, cut it in a way that makes paper dollies. And I'm thinking, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority on that. I'm just reporting what someone else taught me. They don't care because it's the content. There's so many things that a person could teach and build their business just because they're out here speaking. So I don't care who they are, and I don't care if they have an accent as bad as mine. Anyone can become a public speaker and almost double or triple the net profit of their business by adding this additional stream of income.
Now, one of the things I know that you mentioned that you teach during your class is that there's the ability, and I know you teach us during your class, but when you have acquired this skill, I mean, you can do things like go on, just like you're talking about, go on free cruises.
Oh yeah, there are so many opportunities to go out here and speak. A cruise company contacted me 3 years ago, and they said, look, we are in dire need of public speakers. And they contacted me because I train public speakers. And I said, well, what is it that you're looking for? Now, this doesn't fit everyone because they don't let you come on a cruise ship to sell your wares, so to speak. They let you come on the cruise ship if you will teach their people something valuable. Now, if you were there, Armin, and you're teaching people how to generate traffic on the internet, there's no way in the world that they're not going to be at the next big seminar because they met you on a cruise ship.
Right.
And then they're going to go find you again because they learned so much that they want more. Any person that, I don't care what your profession is, you ought to be teaching that craft, that skill on these cruise ships. And you're taking a vacation. They're letting you do it, and I'll give you the numbers of what they pay and don't pay here as I make this point. But you are generating business even though you don't sell anything on the cruise ship. Now, here's what it normally, what the financial arrangements are when you speak on a cruise ship. You get to go on the cruise ship at, it'll cost you $50 a day. Now, that fee is normally the booking agent's fee that puts you on the cruise ship. And they have a whole list of subject matters, and you just pick one. You say, well, I can talk about that, because you're not going to speak that long. Study a little bit, but once you get the skill of delivering information, you pay them $50 a day, and that includes you and your companion. That's your room or your cabin, and that's all of your meals, and you have to speak once a day for about 45 minutes. And I don't care what you're speaking on, if you over-deliver, teach good information there, they will seek you out to find you if you're doing any other type of event throughout the year. And, you might have to take, Armin, Mariana on a cruise ship just to fill the next big seminar out here.
Well, it's going to be a little difficult because we're expecting a new arrival to the family.
All right.
so I think my fall is booked a little bit.
Well, congratulations.
But the good thing is that I plan because I'm a planner in between seminars. So. But the opportunities that come around from public speaking is just amazing to me, and I can't really say what it is now, but I'm going on a trip to England in a couple of weeks, and I'll be able to tell the details. Actually, I'll be able to tell the details at the big seminar, but it's something that people would never believe would happen for me, essentially an internet marketer, and I'll tell you more at the big seminar, and hopefully I'll be able to take pictures, but it's just amazing the opportunities that come around. And again, what we're talking about and what John's talking about here is a skill that once you learn the skill, you literally have it for the rest of your life. And one of the big things that I know John is huge on, as well as many of you know that I am really big on, is continuing education. Continuing education is the key. I spend a lot of money each and every year for continuing education. And a lot of people say, when I say that, I've had people come back to me and say, "But Armand, you're doing well already, and the fact is that you can afford to spend a lot of money on continuing education." I spend probably about $70,000 a year or so on continuing education, buying people's products. I buy everyone's products. Buying seminars. I go to seminars still because I don't know everything, and I'm always trying to learn. And I think it's very important that you continue your education. And John, why don't you just talk a little bit about continuing education?
Well, it's always I'm going to compare it to the first lesson I learned when I had my own business. I tried my own business of selling insurance, and I didn't do too well. So I bought into an automotive repair shop as a 50% owner because I thought, I need someone that's got experience, someone to mentor me, and that was some of the best investment I ever made in education. My opportunity costs, for $100,000 I could own all of the business, or for $50,000 I could own half the business. I opted to buy half the business, so my opportunity cost is I lost half the profits because I needed this information. The first lesson, a hard lesson that my mentor, my business partner taught me is this. He says the hardest decision you'll ever make in your life is when you come to work, you got no business, and you have to write a check for some advertising to get business. And he says, and you'll always have to answer this question. Do you advertise to get business, or do you get business to pay for your advertising? And he says, never, ever forget this lesson. You always advertise to get business. The losers, the people who go bankrupt, the people that will never succeed in business have the different philosophy. They say, well, I can't advertise until I get some business to pay for it. The first thing you do when you go into business is you take money from somewhere and you invest it in advertising. Now, I use that analogy because it's the same thing in an individual's life. Do you make money to get more education, or do you get the education to make more money? And it's the same principle. And what his philosophy and his advice and everything was the same. John, you need to go improve your knowledge base, and then you will make more money. But if you wait to make more money to get the education, you will fall in the ranks of the losers, of the bankrupt companies, because investing in continued education is the same thing as advertising in a business. I share that with you because it cost me a lot of money to learn that lesson. But when he taught it to me, I never forgot it. And so from that day on, I'm just like you. I don't invest in continued education because I make a lot of money. I invest in my education so that I will make a lot of money. And you hear about what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Well, there is no doubt whatsoever about this. What comes first is you invest in your education, and that education will pay you over and over and over again. That's the reason, and Armin, I remember us talking about this earlier, at one of my speaker trainings, the fact that the reason you and I keep investing is because it's the best investment we ever made in our life. If you take the money that we invested in specialized knowledge and compare it to the money we've made with that specialized knowledge, it is staggering. And I absolutely will always do it. I made my sons do it. That's what they learn from the very beginning. You know, I'd like to share one story if I got an opportunity here.
Go ahead.
There's a story about a man dying in the desert. He has no water, and he's just about to reach his last breath, and he sees what he thinks is a mirage. There's greenery, and he gets up there, and there's a pump that pumps water, but there's a sign there with a gallon jug full of water. It says, "Congratulations, you have reached a haven. I have left a gallon of water so that you can prime the pump." And it takes a full gallon of water to prime this pump. If you drink the water, you will not have enough left to prime the pump. But if you take the water and prime the pump, you will have all the water that you ever hoped for the rest of your life. And do us one favor. Refill the gallon jug and leave it for those who might come after you. Now, that's a hard decision. When you are dying of thirst, do you quench your thirst, or do you have enough faith that that gallon will prime the pump and you'll have everything that you want for the rest of your life? Now, so many people truthfully say when they get ready to, they have an opportunity to get more education, more specialized knowledge that would give them financial rewards for the rest of their life. And they respond, "I do it, I just don't have the money." The reality is they drank some of their money. They drank some of the water, and they really don't have enough to prime the pump anymore. You've got to take what money you have and invest in your education, and it'll take care of you forever. So I wanted to share that story because I never forgot it. I was reading that. Earl Nightingale taught me that story, and it fits so often because every time I was looking today, there's a training that's coming up in May, and I'm sitting here thinking, I want to go to that so bad. And I put my credit card down, and I am so glad that when I see this that I can afford it now. But in the beginning, it was a stretch. But the one thing I want to leave everybody understanding, the smartest people in the world got that way by investing in their education. The wealthiest people in the world got that way by investing in their education. Those that want for nothing got that way by investing in their education. You have to invest first, and then the rewards come second.
I couldn't say it any better. Well, folks, we've spent a lot of time with John on this particular call, and the fact is that this skill, again, as John had talked about, the idea and the concept of public speaking is, it's what I call personal evolution, especially when it comes to your business. When your business gets to a certain point, in order to take it to the next level, you have to change in order to take it to the next level. When you start your business at where you are right now, you are, let's say, as you are. And then what will happen is as your business grows, you learn to adapt. And hopefully if you learn to adapt, you will change. You change yourself as a person. You will think differently. You will think how a person at that level, earning that type of income, thinks. And then in order to progress to the next level, you need to change your thinking again. And when you're talking about public speaking, this is part of the evolution of your business. You have to learn this skill. This is absolutely, no doubt, has to be done because you are not just be doing business on the Internet. I mean, I run an Internet company. Many of you on this call run an Internet company. I have a whole other segment of my business that is just with me speaking out there. Why? Because a lot of people, I discovered that if I give people a lot of the information that they want, then they want to hear me speak more on different platforms, different stages, because I can communicate very well with other people, and they can see that. And so that makes makes me a wanted commodity out there, as well as many other people. The reason I have the people speaking at my big seminar is because they are a wanted commodity. I want them specifically because I know what they can teach, and I know the value of their information, and I think and I made the decision that these will be the appropriate people to teach you, and that will be your instructors literally for 3 full days in Atlanta, Georgia on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. And this concept, this skill is something that you absolutely 100% must have. Everything that you do, even though my business is internet-based, I still do a lot of negotiations on the phone. I make deals with different people on the phone all the time. I apply the skills that I have learned from John in all aspects of my business. Now, I want to make something clear. Now, when I took John's course, when I took his class, when I went through his whole training, I mentioned that, over the course of the last couple of years that earned me well over $2 million of income since then. Well, now I want to make sure you understand this. This was when I took John's course, this was $2 million additional income on top of what I was already making and what I currently am making. And that is the importance of this. I mean, think about this. I mean, how many of you on this call today could use an extra 7 figures this year? I mean, doing what you're normally doing. I mean, I was already speaking. I was already out there talking to people, and I went from what I was doing to well over 7 figures with John's information and applying it. And implementation is the key. You've heard me say that time and time again. Once I learned the information from John, I implemented it. I constantly implement it. I watch what other people. I know what to look for, and now I can start making modifications myself. I know how I am. I know how I react. I know how the crowd reacts. And, he just taught me so much in that area, and that's why John Childers is going to be there, because he's going to teach you how to enter this public speaking arena. And you know what? You can enter this arena, and you can win at this if you know the proper skills in order to make this happen. John is just one of many of the people that are going to be there at this next big seminar. The next big seminar on April 7th, 8th, and 9th is going to be huge. It's going to be about 500 people there. We have big plans for this particular event. We're coming back to Atlanta, Georgia, which we loved it down there. I mean, we had a great hotel. We're using the same hotel again at the Sheraton. And, this whole this whole event is based around one thing and one thing only. It's not based around me. It's not based around the speakers. It's not based around John. It's based around you. Everything that we do there is based around you. Let me put it this way. I probably believe in you more than you believe in you. In fact, I believe in you so much I am willing to put my money on the line to say that I can teach you the things that you need to learn. And if you simply come to this event, you will build your business bigger. There's a reason why about half of our attendees are returning people each and every time. Why? Because these people learned information. They made the networking contacts. We build our event around networking because I believe that networking is so important for your business. And to get connected with the right people is something very, very hard. You know how hard it is to put yourself in a room with 500 like-minded people? That doesn't happen. It only happens really only one place in the world when it comes to the industry of internet marketing, and that's at the big seminar. You can't get it anywhere else in the world, literally. And with the way this is set up, you can take a maximum advantage of that. When you go through the event, I mean, like I said, I believe in you so much. In fact, I'm willing to put my own money in line. This event is going to cost me personally $350,000 to put on this event. That's a lot of money to put on the line. Why do I do that? Why do I do that each and every year? Because I know the results that you're going to be able to get. I know what you can happen. I know what can't happen. I know the results that other people have received. If you simply just look at our website, you can see what they felt just after 3 days, 72 hours. Imagine walking into a room and then, as you are now, with the knowledge that you have now, literally 72 hours later, walking on the other side, the person with the skills, the ability, and the techniques that can take you to the next level. I mean, it's not uncommon. I mean, I've seen it happen time again in the internet marketing realm, especially because of the nature of our business, where a person can literally go from zero to making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Many people know my own personal story. I went from literally zero, and in 90 days, I've brought in over $4.2 million when I get started online. That happens. That can still happen. People are doing that to this very day. The deal is that you need. I have to be honest with you. I lucked into my situation. I just happened to be prepared for the opportunity when it came, and I took action and I implemented what little that I knew at that time. Remember, this was almost 10 years ago when that happened. But now it's easier than it ever has been to make money on the internet. 2006 is a revolutionary change is happening throughout the internet. In the Middle Ages, there was a whole Renaissance period that was going on. The big thing that happened during the Renaissance was this: is that people started questioning what was happening. People started questioning if this is proper, if this is true, if this still works. And the internet is going through that same thing right now. The people that do take advantage of this whole Renaissance period at this point on the internet will become extremely wealthy in a very short period of time. We're seeing it. We're putting implementations. The things that we have thought have worked in the past do not work anymore. We have discovered new techniques that can happen, and the reason why these particular speakers, people like Yannick Silver, Declan Dunn. Declan, I had the opportunity to spend a day with Declan a couple of weeks ago in San Diego, and he was explaining to me his whole new techniques regarding blogs, not for search engine optimization, because, that's okay and that's fine and all, and if you want to do that, that's great. But using blogs for legitimate distribution of information and how you can use that to build a list. In just a few-week period, he took a person that went from zero, absolutely zero, and he helped them build a list. I don't know, it's on our Big Seminar website. I don't even know the exact numbers, but it was a huge list. I think it was about 30,000 people or so that he had built the list. In fact, let me just pull this up right here. 7 days. 7 days. This person went from zero to 31,000 emails that she collected on her website, and her book, had a book on her website. Her book was seen by 110,000 visitors. So imagine that, going from zero to 110,000 visitors in 7 days. That's just from what Declan's going to teach you, not anything else about anybody else. Mike Filsaime. We mentioned Mike earlier. Some of you know that Mike Filsaime in a 5-day period went from what he had on a product launch in 5 days, generated over 7 figures, generated over $1 million. In fact, the first I believe the first 48 hours he did about 758,000 of that. And using his own techniques, his own butterfly marketing system. And that's why I had asked Mike, I said, why don't you come to the Big Seminar? I want you to teach everyone your butterfly marketing system. Explain to them how it works, how this can work for them. And, he decided to come. Morgan Westerman with this whole viral marketing campaigns. Viral marketing is key. The problem is that if I open up the call right now and ask most of you what viral marketing is, half of you could not tell me what it is because you have an idea, but you do not know the true effects and how it can help you in your viral marketing techniques. Morgan's going to go into detail on how he got to the number one in Google for probably almost the number one search term in the world, which is God. And not only that, but he generated over 40 million visitors to his website as a result of that. And it went viral because he does very little to advertise the site. Other people advertise it for him. And if you learn the techniques that Morgan has implemented, you can have that same effect. This works not only for one industry, for one market, and it works for all markets. And when you understand these techniques, your business can just explode beyond belief. Where your business is today, think about this. Today is February 23rd, right? So we've got March 23rd, we've got April 23rd, we've got May 23rd. Think about this in 3 months where your business could be. The Big Seminar happens right in the middle of that 3 months. But I'm sure that your business can at least double within 30 days to 60 days after that event if you apply the techniques, if you implement, if you take action on the information that you learned. I went to my first internet marketing seminar, and, the information that I learned at that seminar, I went out literally 2 days later and I bought a search engine. I bought a search engine. I didn't create one. I didn't have someone design it. I bought a search engine. I kept that search engine for a while, and then guess what I did? I sold the search engine for twice the amount of money that I originally bought that search engine for. And, that was just one technique, but I made money immediately after that particular seminar. And with the strategies and the people I met, and the people I met there, that's a whole nother different story, because the people I met at my first internet marketing seminar, some of those people, in fact, one of those people is on this call right now, and that is George Callens. George Callens is my operations manager for my main company. And I met George at the very first internet marketing seminar that I went to. I also met people, now think about this, some of you may have heard of of these people, but I met people like Ted Ciuba. I met people like Marlon Sanders. I met people like Kurt Christensen. I met people like Joel Christopher. I met people, Dale Calvert. You know, what do all these people have in common? Well, guess what? I've done joint ventures with every single one of them, and if you've noticed the names I mentioned, almost all of them have spoken at my seminar, because of the relationship that we have built over the years. Again, you know, this can happen to you, and this can happen to you right now. And the way you have to do that, and the way you can allow this to happen to you, the way that you can empower yourself to make this happen, is by simply going to the Big Seminar site, clicking down to the bottom of the page, and then registering your seat. You have to do this immediately because of the amount of space that we have limited. Before I even launched the Big Seminar, we had well over 200-plus people already coming to the event. We've had many more people register since then, and, you know, space is getting limited. We've got almost a little over 30 days before the event, and you know what? This is going to be huge. You need to be there. Lives have been changed as a result of this particular event. Those are not my words. Those are the words of the people that have actually been there. Their lives have changed. Joint ventures have been made. Friendships have been made, you know, that have lasted over the course of all the years. I mean, we've had people coming back now 7 times. Why would a person come back 7 times to the same seminar? Yes, we have different speakers, but they're coming back 7 times because they know the value of the information that is being taught there, meaning that they got results. I mean, I would hate for a person to come back 7 times in a row to an event, literally spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to come back and not getting any results just because they want to hang out with people. That's not the type of person that comes to the Big Seminar. The type of person that comes to the Big Seminar is just like yourself, the person that is serious about their business. You have spent an hour with us on a Thursday night when you could have been, number 1, spending time with your family, number 2, maybe even watching television and relaxing a little bit. You have other things to do in your life, but yet you have taken the time to be here on this call. Why? Because you know the value of information that can be presented. You know the value of information. Now, imagine the information multiplied over nothing but solid information for 72 hours. That is exactly what you'll get at the Big Seminar. We do meals. We actually do your meals on lunches in all 3 days. We have a huge dinner. We have an awards banquet on Saturday night. In fact, on Saturday night, what we're going to be doing is not only the awards banquet, we got a special entertainment coming in for the seminar. We have the awards banquet itself, which we literally give out thousands of dollars. Last year, I gave out 20 computers on Saturday night, just as something that we decided to do off the cuff. We also gave away thousands of dollars in affiliate commissions because now, right after that you register your seat for the Big Seminar tonight, you will get a link to register for our affiliate program where I will pay you $1,000 for every person that you refer to the Big Seminar. Now, that can add up very quickly. I mean, we've had some people receive over $30,000 at that event. I mean, I literally handed them a check for $30,000 at that particular event. Now, think about that. That's a lot of income in just one day with me handing you a check. And that's the great part about the Big Seminar is we designed this so if you promote our affiliate program through the Big Seminar, that day, Saturday night, I hand you a check. Before you go home, you will walk away with money in your pocket if you promote the Big Seminar to other people as well, too. Because if you're coming, you probably know other people that should be there as well, too, and just part of your own personal network. Now imagine expanding that out. And when you come to the Big Seminar once, you always get to come back to the Big Seminar for half price. Forever. So every time we do the Big Seminar, whatever the price point is, you get to come for half of that normal price point. So you need to do one thing. That is, you need to make a decision. The decision is this. Are you going to continue on with your business the way you currently have done up until this point and continue to get the exact same results, or do you want to change it? Do you want to enhance the results? And the second part of the decision starts with registering your seat for the Big Seminar tonight. So go ahead, go to the website, click the link, register your seat right now. Then immediately after that, make your hotel reservations. As I said earlier, the hotel rooms are scarce, and you need to be at this hotel because if you're not at this hotel, chances are you're going to be taking a drive each and every day to come back and forth from your current hotel to this event. And you do not want to drive downtown Atlanta each and every day for 3 days in a row, in the morning and at night. You don't want to do it. So you need to stay at this hotel, which means you need to register your seat immediately. If you need to break it down to 2 payments to make it easier for you, go ahead and do that. However you do it, team up with someone. Let me give you a real quick tip. Go ahead, team up with someone else, and you can each save $500 on your registration fee by simply registering 2 seats at the same time. So one of you put it on your credit card, and instead of paying $4,000 total, you pay only $29.95, and that breaks it down so where you each essentially just saved $500 off your ticket price. It's a simple technique, but you can do it. So team up with someone, and whatever you need to do, you need to be there. So with that, John, thank you very much for spending time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight in this call. It was a pleasure having you as always, and I look forward to seeing you again in just a few weeks.
Well, I'm anxious to be there, man. I look forward to it every single time, whether I'm speaking or whether I'm sitting there just taking all that information in. Thanks again, Armin.
Thank you. And everyone listening, again, your next step is to take action. 2 words, take action. What you need to do is go to the website, register your seat right now, come to the seminar. You won't regret it. So thank you, everyone, and we'll have a great night. We'll be talking to everyone soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Well, folks, the first thing I'd like to do is welcome you to the big seminar. And the key is tonight is going to be a tremendous call. You are on the big seminar preview series, and tonight's call is going to be with John Childers. And tonight what we are going to do is we're going to learn about the highest paid profession. You may be wondering what I mean by the highest paid profession. Well, John's going to explain that to you in just a moment. But before we get into talking with John, what I want to do tonight is tell you a little bit about something that we're doing down in Orlando, Florida on March 19th, 20th, and 21st. And it's going to be a major event, the biggest internet marketing seminar that has ever been put together is going on in Orlando on those dates, and it's called the Big Seminar. This is our 3rd big seminar. Let me give you a little bit of history. In January of last year, January 2003, we had 168 people. We sold out the facility we had for the first big seminar. The second big seminar, we had over 300-plus people, and we sold out, again, the facility that we had. And this next time, we're going to be selling out the big seminar again because we have tremendous speakers. People like Alex Mondosian is going to be with us, Yannick Silver, Jimmy D. Brown, Alexandria Brown, David Garfinkel, Michael Fortin, one of the greatest copywriters that ever lived, is going to be with us at the big seminar. Jim Edwards is going to be with us. Bruce Safran is going to be with us. Mike Stewart is going to be with us. Also, we have Fred Gleek is going to be with us. And you know what? Just recently, actually through Mr. Childers that's on the phone with us today, we actually acquired Mark Victor Hansen, the person that was responsible for selling over 80 million books. Him and Jack Canfield wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think many of you on this call have heard it. Well, Mark is going to be live in Orlando at the big seminar talking about something that you need to learn. You need to listen to what Mark is going to say on Friday night in Orlando. It's going to be tremendous. But you can meet Mark live at the big seminar in Orlando. So, again, mark your calendars now. Go to the site, register. But you know what? I got one more thing before I introduce John, and that is I'm making an announcement right now, something that we just put together. Actually, Alex Mondosian helped me put this together about an hour ago, so it's brand new, hot off the press. And at the big seminar in Orlando, I want to make you famous. Here's what's happening. Everyone has been after me to put together a book. And I decided I'm not only going to put together a book, but I'm going to take 100 of my closest friends, which are people at the big seminar, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to be included in the book. We're going to have 101 marketing strategies on the internet today. Anyone can participate, but we're going to take it from the people at the big seminar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to market this book to not only my list, but I'm going to market to all the people that I know on the internet, all the top marketers across the board, and we're going to shoot it up to #1 at the top of Amazon very fast, very quickly, and the exposure that people are going to get from this book is going to be tremendous. But my point to you is I want to make you famous. I want to include you in my new book that we're going to launch at the big seminar, and we're going to start the process there, and you are going to have the opportunity to be in that book. So again, keep that in mind, and I'm going to tell you why at the end of this call. But now, into our call, the first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to someone that has had a major impact in my life in the last 6 months, someone that has literally added just I'm going to give you the small figures, a minimum of 6 figures to my income this coming year, if not a lot more than that, well into the 6 figures, I will say, because the information that he's going to talk about tonight about the highest paid profession is just tremendous. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to John Childers. John, welcome to the call.
Well, Armin, thank you very much for having me here, and I'm excited about teaching about the world's highest paid profession. Because let me tell you something, if I can just get going here, everybody on this call tonight is going to be really excited about the first thing that I've got to tell you. You can join the world's highest paid profession, which is being a public speaker, but you do not have to do that full time. You can do it part-time. You can keep what you're doing right now. You can have your own home-based business. You can even have a job if you want to do that. And you can be a public speaker if you follow the formula that we're going to be teaching at the big seminar.
Now, John,
could you as much of that as you can tonight?
John, could you just speak up just a little bit louder?
I will do my best.
Oh, that's much better. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Great, now, John. Let's start off. Let's start off here because I think I want to give people a little bit of a background of where you were and where you came from, and then how you got involved in the speaking industry. Because the speaking industry is just a huge industry. It's very popular, certainly nowadays, but it's been for quite some time. But what I want to do is I want to give them a little bit of background about you. Now, prior to being not only one of the highest paid speakers without a promoter ever paying you a fee, what did you do before that?
Well, I had an automotive repair shop. You know, come from a blue-collar background. I was a high school dropout. I never had a whole lot of formal education. When I finally went back to get my formal education, you know, I was all excited about, okay, if I go to night school, I can become a college graduate. And not one person in the 40-some-odd years since I graduated has ever asked me to see that diploma. It was a total waste of time, but I came from having my automotive repair shop, but I went to a seminar, exactly what you're advising people to do tonight. Go to a seminar because of the kind of information that is taught in a seminar format. It's just bullets. I mean, just this is what you do, step by step, 1, 2, 3. It's like a recipe. The seminar I went to was on how to invest in real estate. I made my first $1 million in real estate. And then I made many more millions of dollars than that teaching people how I made my first $1 million. Because what most people want to know is how to get started. And if there's one thing that is the obstacle that everyone needs to overcome, it's building momentum. How do you get started? And that's what we're going to be covering at the big seminar, is the very basic steps to build your momentum. Because I think all of us can agree that once you've got your momentum going, once you feel this force, then it's going to be a lot easier. So the main thing that I want to do there is my part is get people up and going. I told you I made my first $1 million in real estate. I made more money than that teaching people how I made my first. Now I teach people how they can go out and teach people. Because there's more money. If you're taking notes, here's the first thing I want you to put down. The most profitable product in the world is information. Microsoft sells computer software, which is nothing other than information that's being delivered by different format than would be normally delivered in a book. So one of the things that we're going to cover is how many different ways can you transfer information. If we're going to sell information, and we're going to do that from a platform, which is what I teach people how to do. If you've got an e-book, if you've got a published book, if you've got CDs, if you've got any kind of information product, and we're going to show you how to get these things. We're going to show you how to develop these things. And I'll teach you as much as I can in this hour, but I want people to get up. Armin, I want people to get out and start making some money. And I'm talking about serious money. The world's highest paid profession, here's the formula. Number one, you need to sell information as a product. That's step one. Here's step two. You need to stop selling products one-to-one and sell it one-to-many. That's what's so great about being a public speaker, is that you make a sales presentation, but you're in front of 200, 300, 400 people at the same time. Now, you can do it like most people do it. You can go out and find a client. You can sit there and make your sales presentation, but you're going to work yourself to death. You need to learn the principles that have made people literally filthy rich. Have an information product, learn to sell that one to many when you're speaking, just like you're doing the same thing on the internet. So what I appreciate is that Armin's allowing me to come down there and show you this other avenue. Because think about it. If you have an information product that you can sell on the internet 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, all over the world, that's okay. That's well and good. But wouldn't you like to go out because of what you're doing on the internet and be at a convention? I mean, last month they had 10,000 people in Las Vegas. They invited me over to kind of case the thing because they want me to be a speaker there. Now, that's a big event. I probably haven't spoken to 10,000 people in the last 10 years if you added it all together. And now people are asking me to come and speak to those kind of conventions. Now, most people will never do that. Normally, I'll speak to like 200, 300, 400 people. Occasionally, there'll be 500 or 600 people in an audience. But right now, I net, bottom line, probably $1 million a year. But in the 25 years that I've been speaking, 22 of them as a seminar speaker, the least money I have ever made was, I think it was 1989, I made $195,000. And I was trying to retire that year. And I've tried to retire 4 different times, but I can't.
Now, John, there's one of the things I think that people maybe I just want to clarify for some of the people is that there's a difference. There's a difference between a speaker that it's a paid speaker, a fee-paid speaker, and then there's a difference between a person that actually comes in and actually makes their money by selling products from the stage, and which has the most potential.
Well, you're dead on. The most profitable thing to do is have a product. And a lot of times I start off my presentation and I say, my name is John Childers, and my claim to fame is that you've never heard of me. But the thing is, I've probably never heard of the people in my audience either. What we all have in common is that we're not famous, and yet I've made millions of dollars selling product from the stage, and everyone can do the same thing. Now, hey, Armin, if we were all famous, it's easy to be a public speaker. They'll pay us $20,000, $30,000 for a speech. They're paying Bill Clinton over $100,000 because he's famous.
Right.
Well, I'm not famous. You're famous on the internet, but now that you've got product you can sell from the stage, it makes no difference. Everyone that comes to the big seminar can leave there with this model. They can take the information that they learn at the big seminar, filter it through their own brain, write it down, say it, and record that, and now go out and start selling that information. Because once it's filtered through your brain and you sit down and record that information, that becomes your intellectual property. It's kind of like a reporter, Armin. Everybody they think, erroneously, by the way, that they have to be the authority on some subject before they could be a public speaker. They do not. They can be a reporter. And if you'd like to test this, I want everybody on the call tomorrow, when you have coffee with someone, sit down and say, man, you cannot believe what I'm learning on these pre-big seminar calls. Now, I'm talking about, people haven't even signed up yet, and you're learning all these things before you even get to the big seminar. Now, if people at your coffee break kind of lean forward and they're interested in what you might have learned, then you can make a fortune as a public speaker. The reason? You do not have to be an authority. All you have to be is a reporter. Armin, the most famous reporter I know of, I bet you everybody on this call has heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Absolutely.
Napoleon Hill was not one of the wealthy people that was being interviewed in that book. He was the reporter that went out and interviewed them. So what most of the people are doing today is they're wearing a different hat. They're going out and saying, let me tell you what I learned at the big seminar. Let me tell you what I learned at a so-and-so conference. Let me tell you what I learned from going to a different learning event. And then they're taking and compiling all the information that they learned at all these different events, which is nothing other than doing research, and they're giving their spin on it. And then that's how they put that together, and they're able to sell really good information from the platform.
Now, the key is, I think this is, I mean, let's give some examples. I mean, if you don't mind sharing this.
I don't mind at all.
Okay, I want to give people an example of the potential of what's the possibility. Now, let's give an example. I mean, would you say, John, that the average time a speaker normally has at a seminar or an event is, let's say, about an hour and a half?
I'd say about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, but you can even do it in an hour. But somewhere between an hour and 2 hours, you're correct.
Okay, so between an hour and 2 hours. And let's also assume, obviously they have a product that they want to, not only they want to teach people, they want to sell this product at the end to the people in the audience. Now, based upon, some of your experiences, I mean, what, let's go from one extreme. Obviously, the one extreme is that a person that doesn't know some of the principles that you're going to be teaching at the seminar will make zero.
That's right.
So that's the one extreme. We have that covered. But I mean, what's the high point? I mean, I know I've heard some stories of some huge incomes generated within that short period of time.
That's true. And Armand, when I met you, we were doing a little small seminar together. I think there was maybe 150 people there.
Yeah.
I think that I added up the first 4 or 6 speakers combined. If you added all their sales, they added all of them up, and there was about $5,000, if my memory is not correct. And between you and I together, we did almost $80,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blew everybody away. Who are these guys? And I'll tell you who we are. We are people just like everybody else. We come from the same blue-collar background. I know your background, Armand. You know mine. And we're sitting there and this is, hey, we've got information that if you had this information, you could make money with it. And people wanted it, and they were willing to buy it, and they're all happy. Okay, so that's kind of a small event, maybe 150 people. But here's the real numbers that people need to write down. If you sell 10% of the audience that you're talking to your product, let's say the first thing that I think everyone should reach as an objective is to have a $500 home study course. And if you have a $500 home study course, your hard cost, everybody on this call, write these numbers down, your hard cost should not exceed $50, which means, I'm not talking about your production cost of the time you spent putting it together, but by the time you duplicate your CDs, your DVDs, your manuals, or your e-zines, whatever it is that you're selling, this information, your software, it should not exceed $50. So you have actually marked your cost up 1,000%. So if you spoke to an audience and you sold, if there's 100 people in the audience, you sold 10 of them, that's $5,000 in sales. Now there will be some type of split between like the promoter and you as a speaker. Now, in the beginning, if you don't understand the business, you think that's terrible. Hey, this is wonderful. The reason, you got all kinds of conventions and conferences all over this country. There are hundreds of thousands of meetings. And people say, well, now, where do you find these places to speak? And here is a very basic lesson that I want everyone to write down. Go to any hotel in your hometown. Go back there where they've got meeting rooms and look on the little agenda there and make a list of all the seminars that are being held in that hotel tomorrow. I lived in Orlando, Florida for 25 years. And every Monday morning when I came back, it was just every day's business. I would go to about 5 big hotels, and I made a list of all the seminars that were in that hotel that day. And I just started going around. I'd go up to the speaker, and I said, my name's John Childers. I'm a speaker. What's your seminar on? And I'd take notes. How did you get the people here in the room? And I would take notes. And I'm sitting there thinking, I think the whole world is naive about our business. We go to hotels, but we don't realize that there's a whole different group of seminars being held there every single day. If one lasts over 2 or 3 days, that's unusual. There are seminars everywhere, and these people have got students in the room. You just merely approach them and say, look, I'd like to, here's my topic. I'd like to join forces with you, and I'll give you a percentage of my sales. It's huge. You can get speaking engagements everywhere if you have product. Now, what we're going to be doing at the big seminar is going into, we got an hour here, but I'm going to go into some step-by-step things on how do you pick a topic, how do you develop that topic so that you can immediately go out and through doing some one-time research and product development, you'll have home study materials or information that you can sell for the rest of your career.
Now, one of the things I just want to mention to everybody, because I think some of the people on the call may be wondering, why, we have an internet business, why would we want to know or understand how to become a public speaker? And I just want to throw this in because this is extremely important. Now, when I got involved on the internet, I was sitting there and I was saying, I think that, this is a great business because I don't even have to interact with people if I don't want to. I can just, send email back and forth, and that's great. Now, the thing, though, is that when you get serious about any business, one medium of advertising or marketing is not going to cut it if you want to take the next progression, the next step of your business. And the next step for me is after I went to that first seminar, I realized that a lot of the people at these internet marketing, in the internet marketing arena, were speaking at these events and they were making money in this fashion that we're talking about. And, I was probably like many of you that have been to a seminar before. I said, you know what? I could do that. I can do that because I know I have a topic that people want to know about. And simply I talked to someone that probably many of you on this call know, which is Carl Galletti. And he allowed me to speak on the stage for the first time. And after that, let me just give you an idea. The first time, and I didn't know what I was doing, I sold over $12,000 worth of products in 1 hour. 1 hour, $12,000, and I didn't know what I was doing. Now, I've exceeded that by tens of thousands of dollars since, now that I've learned, and I'm exceeding that even more now that I've learned from John some of the many things were mistakes where I was making. But everything that you do when you take the internet to the next level, for example, many of you have heard of teleseminars. Okay, just like we're doing right now, this is public speaking. Many of you may be talking to customers on the phone. That is public speaking. You are always going to have this information, and that's why it's so important to know the techniques. And, I thought I knew a little bit about speaking prior to meeting John, but what had happened is after I threw everything literally out the window. And I'm not saying that because he's on the call. I would say that if he wasn't on the call, because just the way that John presents this made more sense to me than anything else I have ever heard. But you know what? This is an important subject. If you're on the internet or if you're off the internet, you are always going to use this. Now, John, let's talk about this. There's so many different places for public speaking, and people just need to get out there and do it. What would you say the biggest problem that people have when they're starting?
Well, most people never get started because they don't know how to develop a product. Once that has been overcome, so once you've got a product, then it's pretty easy to get speaking engagements. No one wants to let you speak if you don't have something to sell. So that's the biggest obstacle, developing a product. So remember earlier I said you need to get started and build your momentum. So I'm going to spend more time on that, and I've already given you some hints here about just go to seminars, get home study courses, read books, and develop. I mean, if you read 5 or 6 different books on a subject, you'd be pretty close to an authority right there. And if you took all the information in those books and sat down with an outline, you would have a pretty good topic right there. Second step is you're going to have to sit down and record that. Now, what I try to get people to do is get paid to do the recordings. And 8 weeks after they go to my training, they do their first seminar, and people pay them to come to that recording session. See, you can have like a $1,000 seminar, but if you're just getting started, nobody's going to give you $1,000. So you drop the price down to $100. Well, good gracious. If you have 10 people there, that's $1,000. Now, when I recorded my seminar, nobody paid me $1,000. I had to pay $2,500 for a recording studio. This thing's down to a system, a step-by-step system in which you will go out, get paid to do your first seminar, and at your first seminar, you record your product. Now that you've got a recorded product, you can go to any of these seminars companies that I've told you about, and you can say, I have product that I sell. And then they'll put you on the platform, is what it's called, and then they get a percentage of your sales. That's method number 1. I got so much of my experience back in the late 90s working with a man named Wade Cook. I started with 4 or 5 speakers there. When I left, I had 125 speakers. I don't think anybody made under $150,000 a year. If they did, we couldn't keep them. Now, you get companies like that, and you don't even have to have product. You just go out there, and they train you how to speak, and those positions are available. But the ones that make the most money are the people that develop a product, and it depends on what the topic is. I've had people come to my trainings, Armin, on health care, losing weight, and sometimes I laugh at what seminars are. We were in Vegas back I think it was a training after you were there, Armin, and I went next door. They were having a seminar, and I picked up their brochure. They had 172 people in the room, and the seminar was on concrete paving techniques for airport runways. And I'm thinking, I've never even heard of that, much less that there could be a seminar. The 172 people in the room for that, they've got seminars on everything. You go in there, and if you had a topic on how to be successful, how to get organized, anything, just any generic topic, these people would be interested, and you can start making good money on it. So there's lots of money to be made. There's quick money to be made. But there's 3 things that I want everybody to learn tonight and believe. Number 1, you do not have to be an authority on anything. You can be a reporter. And in parentheses, I want you to put this. You can do this. And the great thing about it with the Internet and with public speaking combined, like when I go out, I was listening to your presentation, Armin, which one of the things that you were teaching in that particular presentation, I don't know if you do this all the time or not, you were telling everybody to get their own name as a domain name. Well, I did that, and every time I go out and speak, I come back and I look at my Internet site, and I have a huge onslaught of people checking out my website. I'll speak at an event that has like 300 people, but I may get 500 to 1,000 hits on my website. I'm thinking, how? Well, it's because the people that hear you speak go home and they tell everybody else, oh, you got to hear this guy. You got to hear this lady. And they go home and they spread the word, and they tell them where they can go and learn something about you. So the fact that you are a speaker enhances what you're doing on the Internet. And the fact that you have an Internet site enhances the people that come out to hear you speak. It is a marriage made in heaven, being a public speaker and having an Internet site in which you're selling products or doing whatever you're doing on the Internet.
And that, just to give you an example on that, every time I speak at an event, and again, most people know, and some of the people here have heard me speak at events before, especially an internet marketing seminar. What happens is when I get home, that next week, my sales actually double. My sales double across the board on my products because people come to the site, just like you're talking about, and they saw one product, they saw two products, they wanted to know if I was for real. They came there, they decided, I think I do want to get that, and they end up purchasing my products. And so, in every single time that I speak, it happens. And and sometimes, and I speak quite a bit throughout the year at these different events, and it's a great boost in sales, and it's something that I was doing anyway. So not only did I make the initial money from the sales that I made from that seminar, but I also made the side benefit, which is the increased sales there as well too. Now, here's the other part to that I think that everyone needs to understand, is that every time I speak, now if you're speaking at an event, if you're speaking at a seminar, what happens is you get publicity, you get exposure, you get exposed to people that you have no clue you would even be exposed to. Give you an example of that. I was at John's training last month, just in January. I was there. I walked into the door, and where I was supposed to sit right next to me in the chair was Mark Victor Hansen. Now, that was a pleasant surprise. Waking up in the morning and walking into the room, and Mark Victor Hansen was right there sitting next to me. And but I was exposed to Mark. I got a chance to meet Mark, and then through John's relationship with Mark is now going to be speaking at the big seminar. And you don't know who is in the audience a lot of the times when you're speaking. Sometimes it's people you've never heard of, but it's not only that, it's who they know that you may be exposed to. And so it's like a snowball effect, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but what happens is once you start learning the techniques, and once you have content to teach, and once you have quality products to share, all of a sudden a snowball effect starts happening, and you start getting exposed to other people, and then exposed to other people where you might be speaking at not only your own events, but bigger events and larger events. And then obviously if you're selling well, you're going to be invited not only back to that event, but you're going to be invited to bigger events. And so the opportunity to make more money selling products and services from the stage is extreme.
It is huge. And because the exposure that you're talking about is going to come, and you have no idea how fast it comes with these two main sources of generating business, of public speaking and at the same time having an internet site. Now, I told you, that there's three things that I want everybody to write down. One of them is that you don't have to be the authority. You can be a reporter. So the point there is you can do this. The second thing is that you can do it where you live. The great thing about the internet is you can do it from anywhere in the world. It's the same situation about being a public speaker. I lived 25 years in Orlando, Florida. The last time I retired, I moved to Mississippi. Now, I'm talking about I live in the middle of nowhere. People in Mississippi have no clue who I am or what I do. All they know is I'm this rich dude out here in the middle of nowhere with this great big house. You could do it from wherever you are right now. The third point that I want everybody to fully understand tonight is that you can do this now. I used to teach people about real estate. I've taught people how to have home-based businesses, how to invest in the stock market, how to create brand new products, how to develop software. Of all the topics that I have ever taught, the only topic that I can tell you without a doubt that you can do anywhere, anytime, in any economy is being a public speaker. If the economy is good, they want to learn how to make more money. If the economy is bad, they need to know how to make more money. And if that has anything to do with your topic of how to improve your lives financially, and by the way, it doesn't have to, but if you happen to fit that topic, you can do this. That's number one. You can do it here. That's number two. And you can do it now, meaning this year, this time, you don't have to wait. So if you people on this call are really interested in having a huge influx of cash into your business, I'm going to tell you to do 3 things. Number 1, go to the big seminar and start gathering information on how to market on the internet, how to be a public speaker. Armin has put together a tremendous lineup of information providers that everyone there will be able to leave with everything you need to make all the money you want to make. Number 2, you decide to be a public speaker and share the information that you have learned there. And number 3, start collecting cash based on what you are teaching people. Yeah, Armin, I think one of the things that I love most about being a public speaker is all the people that come up and tell me what a difference I've made. You know, they come up and say, you know, I listened to you, I did exactly what you say, and I'm now retired. I've now got, you know, some people don't make the kind of money I make. Some people just go out and make maybe $5,000, $10,000 a month extra income. And they are so happy they can't hardly stand it. And that's just getting started. But you see, they don't want to have, they don't want a new career. They don't want even a business, but they love the idea of going out and helping other people by teaching them something that they need to know. That feeling is so gratifying. There's nothing in this world that will ever take its place.
Now, one of the things
you'll make big dollars.
One of the things I just want to mention too, and I just want to make this clear for everyone, is that we're not just talking about speaking on the subject of making money. This can apply to literally any subject you can possibly think of. I mean, at John's last event, I mean, in the audience, I mean, there was Carly. There was a girl that she's an up and coming country music singer. She was in the audience. We had people, book publishers, that were in the audience. There's just all walks of life are in the audience at John's trainings because they know the importance of this. They know the importance of speaking in public and, more importantly, the benefits of what can happen as a result of this. And again, the exposure is just tremendous once you start in on the subject.
Armin, I've got people talking on office politics. I've got people talking about tax breaks, how to do verbal self-defense, how to do karate, how to be a landlord, how to do think tanks, how to lose weight, how to organize. I don't know, what are these old, I mean, when these women wear these big full skirts and the men have the swords and the thing, I don't know what all that is, but she's putting a seminar together on how to coordinate these events. And as a sideline to that, she's got a whole business making all of these exotic outfits with the swords and the big hula hoops and I don't know what it is. You can do seminars on everything, and don't forget that you can also join the ranks of how to do concrete paving on an airport runway. If they get 172 people there, I may go into that seminar business myself. But yes, you can do it on anything. Hey, let me tell you, one of the hot ideas today is how to set up a business on eBay. I was talking to somebody the other day. I had 2 people there that were doing that. Oh, and another idea that I know that 2 of my students are actually going to be there teaching at the big seminar is on public domain topics. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I'm going to tell you, I just jumped up out of my chair when I heard that. These guys are going to leave you sitting there breathless. But you can have topics on anything and everything when it comes to being a public speaker. Just like when you're on the Internet. People say, well, what could I sell on the Internet? Look at all the products that are available on the Internet for sale, and that's how many topics you can be a seminar speaker in.
Now,
it is wide open.
Now, some of the people may be thinking, well, I'm doing pretty well. I've spoken at seminars before, and I know what he's talking about, and I know the potential, and I've made some money. But why the heck would I want to have John Childers train me? So, John, I know some of the most well-known people, not just on the Internet, but literally in the world today, have gone through your training.
Well, that's true. I don't like to be a name dropper, but
I'm asking you to.
Okay. Well, let me give you some numbers, and I'll tell you, Les Brown is just one of the greatest motivational speakers I've ever seen. He called me up one day, and he said, John, I heard you're the man. You got to help me close. And I said, well, Les, I just heard you. You did pretty good. He said, well, I did $48,000. Now, we were at an event in which he spoke, and he had the whole audience in the palm of his hand. The person that sold the least at this event sold $12,000. Les Brown sold $48,000. The next guy up sold $100,000. There were two guys then, right after that. One sold $148,000. Then a guy sold $150,000. I came in last, but the guy right before me did $300,000 in an hour and a half. Now, some of the people that I have coached and helped, Robert Allen wrote the book Nothing Down, 2.5 million copies. Mark Victor Hansen has hired me as a public consultant to teach him. I just met this week with Brian Tracy. Alex Mondosian has been through my training. Armin has been through my training. So many people go through there. David Garfinkel will be on tomorrow night. He's been through my training. Another one of your speakers that is going to be there is Allie.
Yeah, Alexandria Brown.
Absolutely.
Bruce Safran.
All these people come for one reason, and that's my style of teaching people how to sell, because, Armin, I hate to act like a salesman. The first thing I teach everyone is you be you. Don't let anybody change you. And that's so different than every other speaking coach out there. They want to start in. You're not standing right. You're not holding your head right. And you're not saying the words right. The first thing I'm going to tell you, you be you. Forget all that, because if you'll just be who you have spent your entire lifetime perfecting that personality, the battle is 90% done. The second thing is, don't be salesy. Don't be up there always talking about your product and all this kind of stuff. I teach people how to teach from the platform. And at the end of your presentation, you have taught so much information. People sit there and say, my gosh, if I could learn that much in an hour and a half, what would I learn if I had their entire home study course? And people literally run to the back of the room. But there's a process to that. There's actually a method that I teach called How to Sell Without Selling. And that's the reason leaders in the industry are all coming to me, is because of that style. No one likes to come across as a salesperson. And I think that's the reason everybody comes to me. It's either that or my wonderful southern drawl.
Well, there's, I've seen a lot of different information on selling from the platform, trying, different things on public speaking. And, I can say this is that the information is totally different. It's almost the exact opposite of what most people would tell you what to do. And, and I have a sales background. I mean, many people know on the call that, I sold vacuum cleaners face-to-face, door-to-door, very, almost a hard sell, but, I was never really good at selling like that, so I just gave them so much information that they had no other choice than to buy. They felt kind of crazy after, and plus I made them feel sorry for me. So
everybody feels sorry for you, Armin.
I know. It's tough being me. But John, the people. What amazes me is, you just talked about a couple, some names that everyone knows. I think out of the speakers that we have at the seminar, I think 5 out of our lineup were trained by you, and these are people that are already speaking all across the country, all across the world. Yet they come to you. People have hired you as consultants like Robert Allen and Mark Victor Hansen, Les Brown, and to teach them your training and how you do it as well too. So my point is that, and for everyone on this call, is that if people like the ones that we just mentioned, seek out John to do this. And I never told John this story because, see, I knew a little bit about you and Robert Allen prior to us even meeting. And here's what it is. This was like a legend. And here's what happened. Is I was at a seminar. I was at that first seminar. I told the story earlier in the day. That first seminar that I ever spoke at. Well, Robert Allen also spoke at that seminar. And when he spoke, I said, man, that's powerful, because I see him just, I don't know, probably $50,000 or $60,000 worth of sales in just minutes. And I looked and I said, that's pretty powerful. And then someone was telling me, he said, well, he's hired this guy to teach him everything there is to know. And I was like, oh man, I said, I wish I could do that. Now think about this. This was 3 years before I actually met John. 3 years before I even knew who John Childers was, but I had heard just through the grapevine that someone had worked with Robert Allen to teach him what he knows about selling. And I knew then that I needed to know that information, and then it just happened that our paths crossed at an event. And let me also tell you something else. That event that talking about there's markets all over the place, the event that John and I met at, the event that we first spoke at together, was an event that you would probably not expect us to be at. That event was a home schooling event, a home schooling seminar on entrepreneurism. That was that event, and it was literally in the middle of nowhere in Alabama, but yet we still walked out there, each of us making money from that event. And the point is, John said it, he said it very clearly, is that you can do this too, and you can do this now. And it's extremely important that you understand it. But folks, listen to some of the things. We gave some examples on this call, and I know we really don't have a whole lot of time on this call to get into details, and John's going to be telling us more about that at the big seminar. But John, what's one thing that a person could do today to further their ability to go into this type of market?
First thing I would do is understand you're going to have to get a product. You're going to have to give some kind of topic. Get on the Internet and go to the Idiot's Guide or the Dummies Book site. Those are two publishers that have just been wonderful. Get started in a subject. Here's what I teach my people. If they have written a book on it, then they've already done the research. Then you could do a seminar on that. One of the ladies that came to my class wrote the book on the Dummies book for organizing, and she just wrote the book on organizing. The Dummies book published it, and she heard of me, heard me telling people go to these two sites and pick a topic. She said, well, I have one of those topics already. I wrote the book. And she came to the seminar also. The reason is that if you can have somebody point you in a direction, which I've just done, go to the Internet, look at the list of their books, and almost every one of those titles is a seminar ready to be put on. So that's the first thing I would like everybody to do. Second is you might want to buy the book and read it and find out, is this something I'm interested in? And remember, you do not have to be the authority. That was the biggest breakthrough that I've ever discovered in this business. I waited 3.5 years because my first topic was, I'm going to teach people how to be a millionaire. And I thought, well, if I'm going to teach people how to be a millionaire, I ought to be a millionaire. And that's logic. Today, I would not have waited 3 years. My first 2-3 years as a speaker, I made $400,000 net profit each year. I would not. Waiting 3 years cost me $1,200,000 because no one ever told me that I could be a reporter. Now, I just didn't figure it out. Every time I'd go to a seminar and I'd come back to where I worked at Travelers Insurance Company before I had my automotive repair shop. Now, when I was going to seminars, even back then, I'd have coffee and everybody would lean forward. Okay, what seminar did you go to this week? What did you learn? And they're sitting down there just taking notes and learning from me, and I wasn't an authority. And I should have picked up on it. I just didn't. And now I'm trying to tell you that of all these years that I've been in business, there's a formula, a recipe. And if in answer to your question, I've tried to give you now like 4 things if I want them to do. But here's the deal. Everyone needs to understand that I don't care what you want to do. The first step is learn the process that's involved. If you want to be an engineer, you go to a learning institution, and they will tell you which courses to take. Now, taking the courses on how to be an engineer does not qualify you to be a brain surgeon. And it just amazes me how people say, I went to college, I don't need to go to a seminar. Well, what we learn in college has absolutely nothing to do with what you learn at a seminar. A seminar is not a shotgun approach. It's a rifle approach. When you come to the big seminar, it is on one thought process. We're going to take the internet and we're going to learn how to rock and roll and make money with the internet. They don't teach you that in college. So the one thought that I want everybody to understand, there is a process, a system. And if you don't understand those 2 words, write this one down, recipe. My wife has been using recipes for years based on one thought only. If she just had the recipe, she knows that she can follow that recipe step by step and get the very same results as the person that originated that. That's what everybody wants to do. I'll bet you anything, Armin, that I'm going to describe something here, and everyone will know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You go to the supermarket and you buy 10 pounds of ground beef. You wad it up in little balls, you smash it out, you cook it on a grill. When it gets done, you put it on a bun. That's called making hamburgers. Everybody knows how to make hamburgers. Then how in the world can McDonald's get $500,000 when someone already knows how to make a hamburger? The answer is they have a system. A system that when you follow that system, it's almost unlimited to how much money you can make. That's what I like about seminars in general, but that's what I love about your training, Armin, at the big seminar, is we're talking about a recipe. Step by step, what you do. And if you go through that recipe, you get the very same results as a person that originated that. That's what I want everybody to write down and remember this call about, is that somebody finally got it through my head. I just need to learn the process. So you decide what you want to do, then get someone to teach you that process.
Sounds great. It sounds simple, and most importantly, everyone on this call can do it, and you can do it now. So, folks, we've covered a lot of information in the last 58 minutes, actually 52 minutes, I guess. But there's a couple things I want to just tell you about real quick. The key is that the information that we talked about, some of you may have just even recognized that this is an industry and that this is a possibility and that this is something that you could do. This is something that anyone can do. And I know that. John knows that. John teaches that. He preaches it, and he fully believes it, and so do I, that anyone can do this type of business, and you can start now. There's not training involved. It's very, very, very simple if you know, as John had just mentioned, the recipe on how to do it. Well, as also John mentioned at the seminar, at the big seminar in Orlando on March 19th, 20th, and 21st, we have people that are already successful on the internet. One of the things that actually, well, John covered this on the call. I'm going to sound like I'm repeating a lot of what he said. But one of the things that John had mentioned, he said that the first 3 years he spent in making $1 million, and then the next few years he made a fortune teaching people how he made that $1 million. And, you know, on the Internet, there is so much information, but you know what? I think some of you probably know this already. There's a lot of bad information on the Internet. And if you don't learn properly the right recipe, in this case, of how to succeed and how to do things from the people that are actually doing it, these are real people doing it. They're doing it now. They didn't do it 10 years ago. They didn't do it 5 years ago. They didn't do it last year, although they did. But they're doing it, more importantly, right now, today. These are people that are what I refer to as active marketers that are teaching you what works in today's world of the Internet. I can tell you this. Let me give you an example. On the website, okay, I promised that I was going to show people how to pull in 300,000 visitors a month. Well, I have a confession to make, and that is I lied. The reason is because right now, that same tactic, since I wrote that sales letter, I'm generating 750,000 visitors a month from that. By the time we do the seminar, I'm going to be doing over 1 million visitors per month from simple techniques I'm going to be sharing with you at the seminar. Now, that's just one person. That's just myself, what I'm going to be teaching you. John has a tremendous amount of information that he's going to cover, jammed into 90 minutes of the most powerful information you could possibly imagine. The other speakers we have, Alex Mandossian, a great friend of mine, is going to be talking about a subject that has literally turned my life around, meaning I don't even have to think anymore when it comes to the Internet, because what Alex is going to show you at the seminar is going to do it all for you. There is no thinking involved. You know, Michael Fortin was on the call with us last night, and he was also on the call with us last week. And Michael was talking about if you let people think, then they will do just that. And that is, if you think, you will not take action. Well, if I don't have to think about something, it just happens for me automatically, and I can just take that information, filter into a product, into a service, into a money-making idea for me on the Internet. Would I want to do that? Would you want to do that, more importantly? Of course. Well, Alex is going to be talking about it. Yannick Silver is going to be talking about public domain information. He's going to be just explaining to you how easy it is, how simple it is for you to get started. But you know what? That concept is also, not only is it simple, not only is it easy to do, but it's also very complicated in this one area, and that is the legal aspect. You see, if I take a subject, if I take a product that I write, or I should say I didn't write, but I just take the information from, I publish it, I start selling it, and find out ultimately I didn't have the rights to that. How much trouble do you think I would get in? How many lawyers do you think would be knocking at my door if I made the wrong person mad? Probably a lot. It's not a position I personally would want to be in. Well, Yannick's going to guide you through that minefield and really show you how to do this step by step. The information's tremendous. I own a lot of Yannick's products. I've recently purchased a product from him that talks about this, but even that at this time is outdated compared to the information that he's going to be sharing with us at the seminar. So take a look at that. In fact, speaking of public domain information, you know, and we talked about a person on this call, one of the most well-known people in the world when it comes to the area of business, and that is Napoleon Hill. Now, what we've done is we've secured the rights to a version of Think and Grow Rich. And what we've also done is we're giving it to everyone at the seminar. And we're going to talk more about that. But that's one version, one example of that we're going to be doing at the seminar, just taking Yannick's advice and some of the other people, Bruce Safran and David Garfinkel, who also talk about public domain information. But, for example, David at the seminar is going to be talking about copywriting. Michael Fortin is going to be talking about a different aspect of copywriting. And then we have Bruce Safran, who's going to take the information and show you not only how to build a business, but how to build a business as a legacy. Now, I was on the phone with a coaching client today, and he said this. He was telling me about his projections, his intermediate goals, as far as what he wanted to accomplish on the Internet and in his business. And I said this. I said, you're wrong, which is something no one ever likes to hear. But the reason why he was wrong is this. He was building his business for himself. That is not why I build my business, and that is not the reason why John builds his business, and it's not the reason why any of you should build your business. You see, I'm building a business to leave. I am not forever. I am not immortal. None of us are. And I'm building a business as a legacy to leave to my family, to my children, to my grandchildren that will be here now and well into the future. And that's the ultimate goal. I'm not doing it for the quick dollar of tomorrow. And Bruce is going to show you how to do that, and he's going to show you how to set up properly so you do have that business to leave to your son, your grandchildren, your daughters, whomever, because of that one fact. And that's something that we all have to come to grips with and listen to. So Bruce is going to be talking about that. We also have Jimmy D. Brown, who hardly ever speaks at a seminar. He just never speaks at a seminar. He doesn't really like leaving home. He just built a beautiful home literally in the middle of nowhere in Manila, Arkansas. And if you blink your eyes, you're going to go right past the whole town. But in that little town, he just built a beautiful home, loves it there. He loves traveling the world all across the country. You can hardly ever get him home, but he's promised me that he's going to make his travels down to Orlando, and he is going to be teaching you about viral marketing in a way that no one has ever done before on the Internet or off the Internet. And Jimmy is literally the master at this. If you do a search, and I challenge anyone to do this, because this just amazes me, is if you go to Google and you type a search for Jimmy Brown, you're going to come up with 1,660,000 names. Now, some of those aren't all Jimmy Brown that's going to be with us. In fact, let's be fair and let's just type in Jimmy D. Brown, just so we can give you a more accurate. 901,000 times Jimmy D. Brown comes up, and most of that is the Jimmy D. Brown that will be at the big seminar. Jimmy's a great person, a great friend, and he's one of the most prolific product producers on the Internet today. He produces a product every single month, and it's a product that people would love to have. And he's going to show you how you can do the same, how you can take advantage of those viral marketing concepts that generates him a passive income on the Internet month in and month out, and it builds and builds every single month. So he's going to tell you about that. Also, we have people like Jim Edwards who's going to talk about multimedia, why this year is the year for multimedia on the Internet. Many of you know Alex Mondozzi and myself, we were a major influence last year in the area of multimedia on the Internet, bringing audio generator to the marketplace. This year, it's a whole new realm. It's a whole new realm. Not only will audio be more effective this year, but there's other avenues that people are looking at right now. You've seen some of it on our website with our videos, our testimonials. We have 17 people on our website. If you haven't seen that yet, go to the website, click on the testimonials. There's 17 reasons right there why you should come to the big seminar. But take a look at what we did. It's just amazing as far as how we put that all together and made it stream as fast as we did. Jim's going to be telling you how to do some of those crazy things. And then also we have Mike Stewart to come in to show you how to make those audio. Again, if you go to the big seminar site, click on the audio link at the top of the page. And the reason why I want you to do that is because when you click on that button, you're going to hear some examples real quick of what I did utilizing Mike Stewart's information and his equipment that he's going to be talking about at the seminar. Because I put music in it, I inserted a testimonial into it, and I put it up with Audio Generator, put it on the website ready for you to play. And it's not complicated if you know how to do it. And Mike's going to be showing you step by step how to go through this whole process. Frank Kern is a tremendous marketer that you need to listen to. You know, did you hear John earlier talk about how he got to start in real estate? Well, Frank takes the Internet and compares it to real estate, meaning this, is that many people buy real estate for rental properties to generate the income from those rental properties every single month. Well, Frank discovered that you can take the same concept, put it on a website, and create little tiny rental websites every month that generates a little bit of income. And when you put enough of them together, you don't have a little income anymore. You have a tremendous income that will take you month in and month out. And he's going to show you what he talks about that. And he has a unique way that I've never, ever seen anyone else talk about. And he's going to be presenting it live at the seminar. And he's done some recent projects that he's going to be sharing with us as far as the results and what they do, what they have, how they affected his marketing campaigns. And Frank's an awesome testing machine because he tests literally everything. So everything that a person could possibly do, Frank's going to tell you about on the net. We have Fred Gleek as well. He's going to be teaching you how to create products online. He's developed products, hundreds of products for his clients and himself. And folks, you know, the events could be tremendous. Last but not least, we also have Mark Victor Hansen, as we mentioned earlier on this call. And Mark is going to be talking about something that's just tremendous. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you this. It's something that you want to know about. It's something that you have to know about to take your business online, offline, whatever. I don't care what kind of business you have. What Mark is going to reveal to you for the first time anywhere at the big seminar is something that is just going to blow you away. And then, you know what, folks, there's one other thing that I want to tell you about. I made a statement earlier in this call, and I said, I want to make you famous. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I have a little pull with some of the people on the internet today, and the key is that I'm going to take all my influence, all my friends, all my connections, all my relationships that I've built over the years on the internet, and I'm going to put them behind one project one time, and I'm going to call in favors. I'm going to ask really nicely, and I'm going to take everything that I have, all the resources that I put together, and I'm going to take a book and I'm going to bring it to number one on Amazon. But not only do I bring it to number one on Amazon, I want to do something more that other people haven't done. I want to keep it at number one on Amazon. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that, and I need your help. The reason is because I need you to be in my book. You see, John said something earlier on this call that even makes this more relevant, what I'm about to say. And John said that Napoleon Hill was not one of the experts in the book. Napoleon Hill was a reporter. He was not one of the wealthy people that was interviewed. He was actually a reporter that told you about what he learned. Well, I'm here in a little bit different fashion. I'm saying I have information, but you also have information, and I want to be the aggregator of this information, and I want to put it together using my resources, using your resources, and I want to put 101 people into this book, the one being myself, the 100 being you. Out of the 100 people out of the seminar, 20% of the seminar will be involved in this book, and then we're going to have your name, your information, your website address, and it's going to go out all over the world, and you have a chance to do that right now. Now, here's how you can get involved. Here's how you can become famous at the big seminar. Once you register your seat for the seminar, and this is everyone that has already registered as well, too. If you've already registered your seat, don't worry about it. You're going to receive this over the next few days. But you're going to receive a PDF file. Actually, I'm going to email you a PDF file after you've registered your seat. What's going to happen in that PDF file is a little questionnaire. What would you like to teach in my book? And then I'm going to take all that information, all those topics. I don't want to know your whole idea. I just want to know a brief description of what it is that you want to teach. And then I'm going to take that information. I'm going to pick 100 people, I should say, one being myself. And then I'm going to take that and put that in together, and we're going to take it, we're going to print it, and we're going to put it onto Amazon. But I don't know if we'll do this before the seminar, but we're going to do it shortly after the seminar. But I want you to be involved in this project. It's a chance to joint venture with me and my friends and do something that's going to be just tremendous. Here's the other part. I'm not doing this for money. Every single dollar that's generated from this, I'm giving away to a charity. In fact, what I'm probably going to do with this is actually just take a school, usually a rural school, because this has been a dream of mine for a long time. Take that rural school, all the money that we generate from this is going to go to that school, and we're going to buy them computers because computers have made a major impact on my life, and I'm sure many of you on this call as well too, and they can just keep the money because I don't want the money. In fact, they can just take it all and they can buy computers, whatever they need to do with it. In fact, we'll set it up so it doesn't even come through us at all. It'll go directly to that school. That's the overall bigger picture. A.L. Williams said one time that in order to succeed, you need to have a crusade. And that's the crusade that we're going to put behind this project, and that's what we're going to use to drive this project to make not only a dream of mine come true, but a dream for many people out there that maybe can't afford computers for their community, and we're going to help them out at the same time. You win, I win, they win. It's a win-win situation for everybody. But, again, you're going to receive that PDF in the next few days after you register for your seat for the seminar tonight. But here, let me make it even better for you, because, one of the things that I've always learned is this, is that you need to, I call it Godfather marketing. And then here's what I mean. I'm going to make you a deal that you can't refuse. The deal is this. Not only do I want you to appear in my book, I want to give you the CDs from my last big seminar. That's 16 hours. I want to give you all the CDs from my previous big seminar in January. That's 32 hours worth of information. I also want to give you the preview calls from the last big seminar that I sell for $194 right now. I also want to give you the preview calls from this big seminar. Not only this call with John on it, but all the other calls that we're doing as well, too, that we'll be selling again for $194 for resale rights, and you get to keep all the money from those 2 preview calls that you sell. That's an instant product that you can start marketing as soon as you leave the seminar. That's the product that you're going to have. You're going to market with. That's total that up. That's $1,088 worth of bonuses as well. And you're going to be at the seminar and learn all the information you could possibly have. And again, that's the offer. That's the deal. That offer is valid until tomorrow night at midnight. Those of you that do that today, you'll be getting first crack at a part in our book. But John, you've shared a lot of information with us today, and I'd like to thank you for being on the call and sharing everything with all of our listeners.
Well, you're welcome. I'd like to end with one thought. At one time this country suffered from lack of information. Today, with the Internet, we suffer from too much information. And when you have too much information, you don't know what to do. I recommend everyone come to the big seminar so that they narrow down all the information that's available into what you can use. So that's what I want to know. What can I use right here, right now? And everyone ought to be there.
Sounds great. Again, thank you, John. And folks, again, we've covered a lot of information tonight. If you took home one idea that will help you, then we've accomplished our job tonight on this conference call. But what I'd like you to do is I want to see you at the seminar. I want to meet you at the seminar. I want you to introduce you to all our speakers at the seminar where you can actually meet with them, sit down, eat with them, and, make a change literally in your life like we have in many and literally hundreds of people from all over the world so far. So the next step is totally up to you. I say this often, and I truly mean it, is that success in life comes down to one thing, and that is this. It's a decision. Once you make the decision to succeed, everything else doesn't matter. A great man, some of you may have heard of him. I heard him speak a couple times. I was fortunate to have dinner with him. He makes about $1 million every 18 hours, and his name was Dexter Yagers. And some of you may know him that were involved in Amway and things. Well, Dexter Yagers said this, and this is a quote that I think is very appropriate. And he said that if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. And I always remembered that, and because it's so true. All of you have a dream. You're looking for ways to make it happen. And if your dream is big enough, the facts don't count. You will be there in Orlando. You will make a change in your life. So with that, I'm going to end this call, and I hope to see everyone in Orlando. Everyone have a great night, and thank you again, John. And we'll talk to everyone tomorrow night, same time, same channel, on this call, and you'll receive an email later on tonight. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.